What happens when Naruto finds a legendary sword hidden away by ancient entities? How will his life change? Elemental countries. The land of shinobi and kunoichi. These countries are ruled by the ninjas and daimyos of the 5 great countries. Hai no Kuni or Land of Fire, said to be the strongest of the 5 and winner of all 3 great ninja wars. Led by the Hokage or Fire Shadow, who resides within Konohagakure village hidden in the leaves. Kaminari no Kuni or Land of Lightning is led by the Raikage or Lightning Shadow, ruled from Kumogakure village hidden in the clouds. Kase no Kuni or Land of Wind, led by the Kazekage and ruled from Sanagakure village hidden in the sand. Mizu no Kuni or Land of Water, led by the Mizukage and ruled from Kirigakure village hidden in the mist. Finally, Tsuchi no Kuni or Land of Earth, led by the Tsuchikage and ruled from Iwagakure village hidden in the stone. Each of these are complemented by their own daimyos. Konohagakure is seen as the most peaceful of the villages despite its bloody past. The Sandaime Hokage was an old man nearing his 2nd retirement. He fought in 2 of the 3 ninja wars and came out of them named the Professor for his ingenuity and knowledge of ninjutsu. His predecessor and successor, the Yondaime Hokage, gave his life to defeat the greatest enemy Konoha had ever faced. The Yondaime was hailed as one of the strongest shinobi to ever grace the elemental countries. He was nicknamed Yellow Flash for the telltale yellow light of his signature move, the Hiraishin. He gave his life to stop the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The Kyuubi was destruction incarnate. It would level cities and mountains with single swipes of its tails. This brings us to the start of the life of Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Timeskip. 7 years later. October 10th. Konoha is enjoying great weather. The sun is shining with some clouds to provide cover for the lovers resting in the parks. Merchants are covering the streets with merchandise they have acquired to sell. Overall, a very pretty day for everyone except one boy, though he is only 7 years old. Naruto Uzumaki is scrounging in the garbage cans behind the Akamichi barbecue restaurant. He stands at a mere 3 feet despite his age. He wears rags with hints of what appears to have been an orange jumpsuit. His dirty hair looks almost black with the filth he has been forced to live in. His face is adorned with 6 whisker marks, 3 on each cheek, which would give him a cute look should any woman look twice in his direction. Underneath his rags, the sight of a malnourished and underfed body can be seen, along with numerous scars. The thing that would capture any traveler, for any native would not look long at this boy. The very sight of this boy's eyes can cause the soaring of a person's soul or the flinching of a person's heart. When the boy is happy, his bright blue eyes would bring joy to all who would care to look. When he is sad, the people would flinch away from the hurt, the sorrow, the loneliness reflected within the boy's eyes. Naruto always scrounges around here on his birthday because they have the best food in town. He thinks of it as treating himself on his most miserable day of the year. He giggled when he thought of his treat. Most other stores would run him off even if it was the trash cans, but the Akamichis would leave him alone most of the time. Naruto was hurrying through the food to eat so he could go to his hiding spot before night fell. For some reason, whenever night fell on his birthday, the mobs would come and look for Naruto to hurt him worse than they did every other month. During his birthday month, he received beatings almost daily, whereas in other months it would be more like once every 1 to 2 weeks. This had happened since he was thrown out of the orphanage when he was 3 years old. So for 4 years he has been living on the streets. He has become quite attentive and very resourceful and has almost thrived. If one could thrive while living on the streets. But now he has to hurry. Naruto was wandering about in a section of the city he was not in often when he smelled something wonderful. That smells delicious, Naruto thought. So he walked around until he could determine the source of the smell. He came upon a ramen stand with a sign reading, Ichiraku's, and he immediately went to the trash cans to see if he could salvage anything. Naruto was so absorbed in his rummaging that he did not notice the sun, and when Naruto finally realized there was none thrown away, he looked up to see the sun setting. Oh, Naruto immediately began to make his way as stealthily as he could to the forest where he would hide in the night of his birthday. He was almost to the Hokage monument when the mobs found him. "It's the demon brat. Get him!" yelled a random mobster. The shinobi within the group grabbed Naruto and tied him up so he wouldn't escape, and the crowd began to exact their vengeance on the poor 7-year-old. I haven't done anything to you? Why? Naruto yelled through his pain. Haven't done anything. Haven't done anything. You killed my father. Now we are gonna finish what the fourth started. Salivated the villagers. Naruto took the beatings. Each blow more painful than the last. Each adding onto the already numerous scars on his frail body. They poured salt on his wounds to make the scars inflame and left him to die. Their final act was to crucify his hands and legs before walking off, hoping he would bleed to death. No one would finish the poor boy off, thinking he was too evil to allow a swift death. Naruto managed to trick them into thinking they had crucified his left hand, but he had not been. Even through the pain, Naruto's cunning mind managed to keep him alive as it had these past 4 years. Naruto plucked the kunai from his legs and arm, not a whimper being heard from him, and proceeded to limp off in extreme pain so as to hide from the next mob. Naruto limped into his cave. He considered it his own since he found it when he was 5 and has used it the past 2 years as a sort of safe house for when he needed a place to recover from his occasional beatings. Although he claimed it, he never explored it fully because it gets so dark further in that Naruto was not inclined to go further. Once Naruto entered the cave, he collapsed upon the makeshift bed of leaves he has made. Naruto awoke hours later feeling better but sore. It was raining outside, he saw, and moved further into the cave to get away from the lashing of the fierce wind accompanying the storm. Deciding it would be better to sleep the storm out, he fell asleep again in a drier spot. Awakening once again, Naruto had full mobility and hurt very little. He had always healed fast, but Naruto never questioned it after seeing the Sandaime lie whenever he was in the orphanage about it whenever he asked. Suddenly, lightning flashed outside and Naruto heard a cracking sound from further in the cave. Deciding to finally search the cave since he did not have anything else to do, Naruto dusted himself off and began his trek further inside. Naruto had been wandering around in the dark for quite some time. He always had superb night vision, so he had not tripped and hurt himself yet, but he was wondering how deep this cavern went. So Naruto continued on but started to notice little things different from regular caves. How the floor evened out. The walls and ceilings became smoother and more defined. Soon enough Naruto came upon a door with a weird symbol upon it. Naruto was not very good at reading or writing, but he was certain this was not kanji and wondered what he had found. Being the curious 7-year-old he is, he attempted to push upon the door. Once Naruto's hands touched the door, the sigil on the door began glowing a bluish-white aura and flashed. Naruto's hand remained stuck to the door as the sigil flashed repeatedly. Naruto was reviewing his entire life up until this point. The ignorance of the villagers. The matrons at the orphanage not feeding him. Seeing the old man living in squalor and filth for 4 years. All the way up until today's beating, which had surpassed the others. Suddenly, a voice bellowed, "Never has one as pure been born. To hold such a burden yet remain so pure. You may pass." The doors swung wide and Naruto's eyes widened in their sockets at the blast of air that blew past him. Not at the strength of the blast but of the smell. It smelled of fresh rain, of the springtime flowers and of honey. Not of musk and death as one would expect of such an old cavern. Naruto stepped into the massive cavern to see stone pillars reaching the ceiling many stories higher. Lighted orbs lighting the pathway all the way to a raised dais. Naruto began his walk through the underground cavern. Not noticing the wind pick up around him and shooting gusts into the dark. When Naruto reached the dais, he could feel the ancient entity standing guard over the stairs leading to the top. The figure spoke in that same calming yet yelling voice. "What brings you here, young one?" "I was simply looking for a place to sleep away from the villagers. I did not want to be hurt any longer and decided to explore the rest of this cave since the storm is too fierce for me to return to the village anyways." Naruto responded in wide-eyed fascination. The figure looked at Naruto and spoke, "If you had power, what would you do with it?" Naruto's eyebrow furrowed. He thought long before trying to answer the entity. While the blue-eyed person thought the entity was impressed. He showed wisdom well beyond his years, even considering his lifestyle, and was not brash like many before him. Finally, Naruto spoke. "I would make it so no one could hurt me." "Only to protect yourself would you seek power?" The specter spoke again, seemingly frowning. And so that when others recognize me I could protect them. Of course. Naruto spoke as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The entity chuckled. Haha. Even though some persecute you, you would still protect them? Ludicrous. But I can see you speak the truth, you pass my test. Wield kamakazi, well, young one. With that the entity faded away, but not before speaking his final warning. All is not as it seems, look deeply and your blade will never fail you. Naruto pondered the final warning before beginning his short trek up the stairs to the dais. When he crested above the final step he could see a depression further within the circular dais. When he finally reached the edge of the depression he gasped. Sitting within the depression was a ring of stairs leading to a stone table. Upon the stone table, a blade sat with its sheath nearby. It sat humming. Naruto was dumbstruck at the beauty of the blade. As simplistic as it was a sight to behold. The kanji on the sheath read kamakazi, or divine wind. Naruto slowly made his way down the short flight of steps to the sword and made to grasp the handle. Before touching this blade, beware your heart. A voice spoke. Only those strong of heart and sure of their strength may wield me. Be careful lest you fail like countless others before you. Naruto faltered but for a moment and spoke. I have never failed in anything I have set myself to. I have lived a life of hunger and sadness. I am worthy of wielding you, kamikaze. And grasped the blade's hilt. The entire area flashed before dimming back down. Congratulations. I accept you as my master, Naruto-sama. Please use me as you will. Kamikaze spoke. Naruto was surprised. The voice sounded in his head instead of outside. Please do not be frightened. I have simply integrated myself into you by accepting you. No one else may wield me unless both you and I deem them worthy. However, only you will be able to wield my full potential. You are the first to ever gain my power. I am honored to be in your service, Naruto-sama. Naruto was stunned. He just gained a beautiful blade, but he did not know how to use it. He could finally defend himself against his enemies when they would attack. Naruto began to wonder why this sword was hidden away and what sort of powers it might possess. Naruto-sama, my powers will awaken as you grow more powerful. I regret to inform you that you cannot use me to protect yourself or anyone else until you have trained with me. But do not worry, I am, as you can see, sentient, so I will train you in the ancient and lost art of the wind style that comes along with myself to complement my powers. Sweet. So what can we do now, kamikaze? Naruto almost yelled. We will have to train you physically so you can handle my techniques. Your natural affinity is wind, so we together will make you a wind lord. Are you left-handed or right-handed, Naruto-sama? Questioned kamikaze. I write with my left hand and can throw stuff with it more accurately, but my right arm is stronger. Answered Naruto. Ambidextrous. Amazing, you really can pull out my full potential. That, however, is a long way off. As a side note, please think your answers to me so that people do not think you are crazy, Naruto-sama. We will need to get you some better clothes, a well-balanced diet and some training weights. A nice place to sleep would do better than what you have now. For now, let's see if we can't find that old man who was nice to you. Stated kamikaze. Time warp. Earlier that same day, Kurenai Yuhi, Chunin of Konoha, was returning from a horrible mission. She had been sent on a simple high C rank mission with another Chunin to transport a package from Kase no Kuni to Konoha. The trip to the sand village was uneventful. It wasn't until they were only a day away from Konoha on their return trip that things went to shit. First, the team had come across some bandits that decided Kurenai would be good fun and attempted to subdue them. They were no match for the Chunin's superior skills, but with their number they managed to wound her partner. She managed to dress the wound and keep her companion from dying, but then a missing nin from Iwa, which still had a high grudge from their last war, decided that two weakened Chunin would be easy pickings and engaged them in combat. The missing nin managed to kill Kurenai's teammate and assumed it was easy street to subdue Kurenai. However, Kurenai is known as the genjutsu mistress of Konoha even at her young age of 14. She was the foremost genjutsu expert and would not be taken down easily. She defeated the, as she later found out, B-ranked nin and sealed his head into a sealing scroll. Deciding that she needed to rest before continuing her journey, Kurenai found a secure place to sleep and fell into a sleep full of the nightmares of Kunoichi being captured. Luck was not on Kurenai's side, however. She woke up 1 hour later tired and cranky from an unrestful sleep and hearing voices of bandits near her. Knowing she was weakened from all her fighting, she waited until she saw an opening to the treetops. Once she had a clear shot, she took off in the treetops running from the bandits. Unfortunately, one of the bandits saw her and the group of 3 genins started chasing her. In her tired state, Kurenai only got to the outskirts of the forests of Konoha before her chakra gave out and she was forced to the floor and running on adrenaline. The genin quickly caught her, and after a brief taijutsu fight, in which Kurenai broke one of the genin's noses, the genins had captured Kurenai and were getting ready to enjoy their spoils. One of the genins said, "So the genjutsu mistress of Konoha. What a ice queen indeed, look at those eyes. I have never seen anything like it." Indeed, Kurenai's eyes were a curious shade. Red eyes marked her with her flowing black hair that reached to her mid-back and budding C-cup breasts which would only get fuller, following her dress of bandages down to her toned ass and legs that seemed to go on forever. Kurenai was one of the most sought-after women within the village, however she had turned down advances for the exact reason that she is about to be raped for. They only wanted her body. Kurenai thought, "Shit, of course I have to come across perverts left and right today. This is the 3rd time for Kami's sake. Can't there be any decent men left in the world? If you're gonna do it, just get it over with." Kurenai then spat in the genin's face. All of the genins gained a malicious smirk on their face. "Don't worry, you're gonna enjoy this by the time we are done." "I doubt it," retorted Kurenai. "Shit, to think I lose my virginity to these assholes, then I die. Fuck." And with that the genin began their advance. Naruto was walking out in the forest after having taken an alternate route when finding his original way blocked. He had kamakazi slung over his back because it was currently too big to be tied to his waist. Naruto was heading north to Konoha when he began hearing strange grunting noises. "Naruto-sama, I suggest we see what is going on over there, and quickly," Kamakazi stated, knowing what those sounds probably meant. Marking how urgently Kamakazi said it, he drew Kamakazi slowly so as not to make too much noise and gripped it tightly before moving forward. After walking a few steps the noises became louder and then he heard a loud feminine scream. Immediately, rushing forward, he pushed aside a part of a bush to look into the clearing ahead but not be seen himself, and was shocked at what he saw. There in the clearing was one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen, being manhandled by 3 butt-naked men. They were in the process of ripping her clothes off. He saw the fear in her eyes and immediately knew if he did not do something he was going to regret it. So he started to formulate a plan when Kamakazi spoke up. "Naruto-sama, I can help you take out these vile beings if you allow, but this will drain me and I will not be able to do it again for some time." "Do you wish to do it?" asked Kamakazi. Naruto replied without any hesitation. "Do your thing, Kamakazi. If I cannot help her, then how can I help myself?" Kamakazi hummed in response and told Naruto, "Indeed, you are the correct wielder for me. You know nothing of the other person, yet you are willing to sacrifice your power for her. Astounding. I shall grant your wish. She will be saved." With that being said, Naruto's eyes changed. Naruto's blue eyes changed to a menacing red with slits for pupils. However, these slits were not normal, they were in the form of an curve similar to an S but not quite. Instantly Naruto's vision improved and Naruto could feel his body moving more fluidly than he ever thought possible. Naruto charged into the clearing right as the genin managed to grab the rest of Kurenai's dress off. They were stunned that this little kid moved on them. Before they could blink, Naruto had the one who was stroking himself in preparation castrated and decapitated, while his head fell off. The other 2 genins took their stances and one yelled, "You little twerp! You killed our friend. We are gonna beat you dead." And with that they charged. Naruto waited their charge out and ducked easily under the first's fist and rolled to the left, putting the first attacker between himself and the second while thrusting his sword forward much faster than a 7-year-old should and impaling the first attacker. As the first slumped down, the second was contemplating what kind of monster Naruto must be to move like that while being so young. Kurenai was shocked. She could not believe this young boy had come out of nowhere and managed to kill not one but two Genins and has almost saved her from being raped by them. Her belongings and the package are still in her pouch, so she was just staring in awe at this dirty boy handling 3 Genin like he is a Junin and they are greenhorns. Naruto was getting tired and he knew it. Moving at speeds his body shouldn't be able to, and using as much energy as he had on his malnourished body took a toll on him. He knew that he needed kamakazi to finish soon, so he didn't pass out. The third Genin was just trying to figure out how to beat this kid. He eventually decided that a long-range attack was best against a sword user, so backed up and started doing hand signs as fast as he could to activate his jutsu. Seeing this, Kamakazi smirked after recognizing the jutsu and said to Naruto, "Would you like to try my most basic power, Naruto-sama? It would be most effective against the current jutsu being employed." "Sure," Naruto answered and closed his eyes, concentrating on the energy source Kamakazi told him to activate. Kurenai's eyes widened as he watched the young boy's eyes close as the enemy finished his hand signs and put his hands up to his mouth. "Run!" she screamed. The third Genin smirked as he fired his fireball straight at the young boy, sure that he could not dodge or block this jutsu. Fire style. Grand Fireball no Jutsu. Naruto concentrated solely on the energy source, barely heard the goddess call or the enemy's jutsu. He finally found it and pushed it into Kamakazi. Kamakazi smirked, if such a thing was possible, and said, "Release the energy, Naruto-sama, and call out your attack." "Benny," Naruto said as the fireball bared down on him, and the goddess stared in shock as Naruto's eyes snapped open and a red aura surrounded him. "K's." The Genin's smirk faded as he watched the red aura gather around the raised blade of the boy, and with a single downward swing of the blade he sent a crescent of red energy through the fireball and straight at him. With his surprise, he was too slow to move out of the way and was sliced clean in two. Kurenai, seeing the threat terminated, stared at the smiling boy holding his sword and had to ask herself, maybe there is hope for men after all. Still, where did he come from and where did he get such a powerful blade? She could feel herself giving out. The stress of almost being raped 3 times and the long run were taking a toll, and now that the adrenaline was leaving she could feel herself falling asleep. "Hey, are you alright, Megami-chan?" Kurenai blushed at the nickname given her by this young boy who saved her life and virtue. "Hey, you're a Konoha ninja, do you need help getting back?" Naruto asked. "My name is Kurenai Yuhi Chunin. I am returning from a mission, but I can feel myself going out. Please take me to the Hokage and don't forget my belongings," she said as she pointed towards her pack. Then she fell forward unconscious. The last thing she remembers is 6 whisker marks on the boy's cheeks and him managing to appear right next to her as she fell forward. Naruto saw Kurenai fall forward and rushed to grab her. He was tired, but he would persevere for her sake. He laid her down and took the rags off his chest, which were still pretty tied together, and managed to cover her breasts and downstairs, as Naruto would say. He wondered how he was going to get to Konoha without hurting her. He could not just leave her here. So using his cunning mind again, he lashed together some big branches with strips from the dead guy's clothes. He took all their weapons and scrolls and loaded them up with Kurenai and started to drag Kurenai on the sled to Konoha. Timeskip. 3 hours. Edge of Konoha. The Hokage had finally gotten out of that damn office. His only reprieve from there had been when he checked in on Naruto when he would be brought into the hospital, but he never had the time to stay until the boy woke. He got regular reports from Anbu watching him at the orphanage, but something had been fishy of late. Naruto was looking skinnier and unhealthy. He was considering getting Naruto an apartment to live by himself while he was enrolled within the ninja academy. The Hokage sighed. Ever since that damn law 4 years ago in which the Hokage had 3 times the paperwork, he has not been able to keep as close an eye on Naruto. Yes, the reports do say he has been doing okay, but that is only from reports, no actual interaction. He finally got that damn law revoked, and he would be damned if he let Naruto be by himself any longer. He was walking around the edge of the forest to calm his nerves when he heard a rustling in the bushes. Hiding his kunai under his robe, he waited while watching the bush. Waiting. Out from the bush came a boy around Naruto's age with black hair and blue eyes. Wait a moment. Yes, there they were, the whisker marks on his cheeks. Naruto. The old man exclaimed. Then he took in the rest of what he carried, a sword slung across his back, a sled carrying a exhausted but otherwise unharmed Kurenai, packs from what appear to be other shinobi, and rags covering his body. The Hokage's eyes narrowed seeing all of this together. I believe we need to have a talk, Naruto. Hi Oji-san, Naruto said as he fainted weak from 3 hours of pulling a teenager and being underfed. This is only the beginning. The Hokage rushed to stop Naruto's fall and managed to catch the black-haired boy before he hit the ground. The Hokage sighed. What happened to you, my boy? The Hokage decided he could question Naruto later and checked his and Kurenai's vital signs. Satisfied they were only unconscious, he gathered up little Naruto in his arms and made a whistle with his teeth. Immediately 4 Anbu appeared. These are the best of the best. The Hokage's personal guard that leaves him at no time and switch off with 4 others. Kneeling in front of the Hokage, they await their orders. They answer to no one but the Hokage himself. Take Miss Yuhi to the hospital for an exam and see to it she gets the rest she deserves. Hi, Hokage-sama. 2 Anbu grab Kurenai and shunshin her to the hospital while the Hokage walks with Naruto to the Hokage tower. Upon arrival he is swamped with aides and ninja asking what Naruto had done and claiming he had done something to the festival this night. The Hokage, having had enough of these ludicrous proceedings, spikes his killer intent. Will be key from now on, and speaks. The next person to speak a lie about little Naruto tonight will be on the executioner's block tomorrow morning. Do I make myself clear? Bellowed the old man. The crowd dispersed faster than Naruto running for food. The Hokage sighs. He is doing that a lot more lately. And proceeds to his office where he can continue watching the fireworks celebrating the Yondaime's sacrifice and wait for Naruto to wake up. While he is waiting, he looks through the pouches he found on the sled. He sees the package that Kurenai had been sent to get. He had honestly thought that to be an easy mission and was hoping to get Kurenai some more missions to get her to Genin so he could have some genjutsu classes with her. Noticing the pouches seem a little heavy, he searches through them and comes to the conclusion it was 3 Genins and that Kurenai had a sealing scroll for heads in hers. Quickly unsealing the head, he went about locating if the Iwa Nin had been in the bingo book. The book for missing Nins and their capture reward. Recording Kurenai down for the B-rank Nin and the C-rank completed, he turned his attention to Naruto and the sword laying on his back. Looking closely, he noticed the sword was actually a ninjutsu. It was slightly curved but was double-bladed, sharp on both edges. The tsuba, or guard, was the weirdest the Sandaime had ever seen. The connection between blade and hilt seemed to be a whirlpool of sorts, but not of water but of wind. The cloth wrapped around the hilt ensured a firm and easy grip. Attempting to get a better look at the blade, the Sandaime attempted to pull the blade but had to remove his hand when the wind picked up and almost cut his hand off. Frowning slightly, the Sandaime sat back in his seat to contemplate this new development. Seeing Naruto's face in sleep made him soften and he looked over Naruto. His hair looked blackened with dried mud, dirt, leaves and what appeared to be something else. His arms and legs sported numerous scars and scratches, no doubt from his trek within the woods. However, it was his chest area that made the Sandaime seethe and start to radiate ki. You could see Naruto's ribs, each were clear as day. The scars here were much worse than his arms, and his breath rattled within his lungs as if taking a breath caused him pain. The Sandaime wondered what else he had missed if his own Anbu had not ensured he get fed properly. Time skip 3 hours. Naruto began to stir and the first thing he noticed was that he was on a comfortable sofa. He froze trying to figure out what house he was in this time. However, before he could do anything drastic, Kamakazi spoke up. Naruto-sama, you were picked up by the old man, remember? Hi, Naruto answered. Naruto cracked his eyes open and saw the old man silently smoking on his pipe. His eyes holding a smoldering fury Naruto had rarely seen in him, and he noticed the old man had not seen he was awake yet. Naruto sat up and put his biggest smile on and looked at the old man. He hadn't changed a bit in 4 years. Hello, Ji-san. The Sandaime chuckled, seeing nothing could keep the poor boy down, and favored him with a small smile. Hello, Naruto-kun. Ji-san, where is Kurenai-chan? Naruto questioned curiously. He was genuinely concerned for the young woman's life whom he had saved. Kurenai-chan, is it? The Hokage thought. I had her taken to the hospital once you have arrived. You have been out for 3 hours, Naruto. I need you to be serious and tell me what happened. Should I tell him that you can talk kamakazi? Naruto thought to the sword. Perhaps it would be best to keep me out of this conversation. Tell him you found the sword within the cave, but do not tell of your trials. No one else will be allowed in, so there is no harm done, answered Kamakazi. Giving a mental nod, Naruto turned to the Sandaime and began his tale. 1 hour later. Then I saw Kurenai-chan collapse and I made the sled and dragged her all the way home. The Sandaime was gobsmacked. This boy took out 3 genin with this new sword, which only he seemed capable of wielding, but was obviously not a Kyuubi trick, for its power was bluish-white, not red, and wind, not fire. Not only that, he had been beaten today and shrugged off such severe wounds in hours. Yes, the Sandaime was speechless for about 5 minutes afterwards and decided he would have to talk to Kurenai to get her version. Well, Naruto, we should get you to the orphanage. Even though you are so late, they should still have your bed for you. Naruto cocked his head to the left a little bit with a confused expression on his face. Oji-san, I have not been to the orphanage for almost 4 of my birthdays now, stated Naruto with a serious expression. Once again, the Sandaime was speechless. Naruto had not been in the orphanage for 4 years. Where had all those orphanage reports come from then? The Anbu only really made reports when they found him beaten so badly they took him to the hospital, otherwise they ignored him. The Sandaime knew this but figured with the matrons Naruto would be fine for first aid and a place to live. Naruto, where do you live right now? How do you get food? Dreading the answer. Oji-san, I have a nice corner of an alley about 3 blocks from the wall and a cardboard box that keeps the rain out. As for food, the restaurants and all groceries kicked me out, so I scrounge around the dumpsters when I get hungry, and on my birthdays I manage to get some barbecue from the big people's trash can. Naruto explained. A single tear fell from the Hokage's eye as he heard of the horrible life his adopted grandson had been living. He should have been in a loving, caring environment. Instead, the council and villagers, even some of his own shinobi, had ruined his childhood. Steel came to the Hokage's eyes as he contemplated what he would do in the coming days. His will of fire rekindled at the injustice of Naruto. He was going to ensure Naruto got what he deserved. The Hokage turned to Naruto and said, Naruto, is there anything you want? Naruto thought for a moment, and after conversing again with Kamakazi, he stated, some money for food and clothes and some training weights so I could train to be a ninja. A place to sleep would be nice too, Oji-san. The Hokage blinked, then blinked again, and his eyes softened. Very well, Naruto, I will have a new apartment set up for you. You will get a monthly stipend from me every first Tuesday of the month. Come see me and I will give you money. In a few days we will go buy you food and groceries for the new apartment. Until then I want you to stay with me while I take care of things. Okay? Naruto thought for 1 second, then nodded his agreement and spoke, one last thing, Oji-san. Anything else, Naruto? The Hokage asked. Yes, please do not tell Kurenai-chan who saved her. Inform her that it was a random swordsman who simply wanted to help. Naruto said. The Hokage's eyes widened at the request and at the thought-out excuse, and then narrowed. Why? The Hokage asked. Naruto responded. I see how the villagers and shinobi look at me. I know not why they hate me so, but a beautiful woman such as Kurenai does not need to have such hate thrown on her for simply trying to thank the one who saved her. I do not need her thanks and I do not want her pity. Please tell her this excuse for me so she may go on with her life and not have to be lumped with me. Another tear fell from the Hokage's eye yet again at the maturity shown by the blonde in the past few hours. All right, Naruto-kun, I agree. The Hokage sighed with a heavy heart. Let's get you to a hot spring to clean you up, then we can go to bed, nay? It took 2 hours of scrubbing to get Naruto's hair back to its golden blonde color, and Naruto managed to clean his wounds. After crawling into the first bed in 4 years, Naruto fell into the most peaceful rest of his entire life. Safe under the Sandaime's watchful eye. Timeskip. Next morning, Kurenai woke within the hospital. What happened? I feel horrible. As she began reviewing her memories, she recalled the horrible mission and became depressed for allowing her comrade's death, but then came upon the awkward young boy who had saved her. What was that weird weapon he carried with him? That strong, ferocious aura that exuded from him as he was enraged from those bastards' actions. She wondered where he went. He was an interesting person and he obviously got her home. Finally. She shot up wondering where he might be. Seeing her heart rate increase and all the beeping on the machines went crazy, Kurenai managed to calm herself down so as not to have doctors rushing to her. She relaxed as a nurse came in and decided to get some information. "What time is it and when did I get here?" questioned Kurenai. The nurse softened her gaze upon Kurenai's questions and answered, "You were brought here late last night. You must have been quite exhausted to have slept through the night and well into the morning. It is my understanding that you ninja are up early and sleeping till almost 10 in the morning is a little late for you." Kurenai was a little shocked at how long she slept but guessed after everything that had happened in the past few days she was a little more exhausted than she thought. After coming to this realization she questioned, "Who brought me here and when can I be released? I must make a report to Hokage-sama." The nurse expressed some surprise at the first question and answered, "You were brought here by the Hokage's personal guard Anbu and you should be able to check out around lunchtime once the doctors have cleared you. You weren't really hurt, just a few scratches and some chakra depletion." Satisfied with the answer, Kurenai laid back to wait for the doctors to release her. 2 hours later, Kurenai was on her way to the Hokage Tower to deliver her report and inquire as to where her savior had run off to. She felt a need to at the very least thank him and find out his name. After a short time of talking to the secretary, she presented herself before her commander and saluted him. Noticing the room surrounding her, she noticed the 4 pictures of the previous and current Hokages as well as the sofa with accompanying table for drinks or leisure. The big wooden desk with its back to the most impressive view of the village besides the top of the Hokage monument. The Hokage watched as Kurenai went through the motions of greeting him as according to their stations. He was curious what her story would reveal. "Hello Kurenai, how are you feeling after such a rough night?" Kurenai answered, "I am fine Hokage-sama. Thank you for your concern. Should I start my report now?" With a simple wave of his hand the Hokage motioned for her to continue. About 40 minutes later. "Then I introduced myself to the young man and asked him to please get me to you and that I was going to pass out. Now here I am. Do you by any chance know where the young boy is so I can thank him for his efforts?" The Hokage's eyes flashed sorrowfully before responding. He was a wandering swordsman who left town this morning saying that he expected no thanks for saving such a woman as you. Saying that rapists are the lowest of the low and that the only worse beings are child beaters. Kurenai was stunned and it showed on her face for a full 5 seconds before she regained her sense and stopped her thoughts. She was sure the boy would want something in return, but he just helped out of what appeared to be the kindness of his heart. He then left before even seeing if she would do anything. She felt a pang of sadness at not being able to thank the boy. Then she started to think about him and became suspicious. There couldn't be that many swordsmen with whisker marks on their cheeks, and she resolved to find this boy and find out more about him. The Hokage, sensing the direction of Kurenai's thoughts, said, "He asked that you not seek him out to thank him and simply to move on with your life and try to forget such a traumatic experience. He did check on you before he left the village and wished you well in your life." Kurenai hid her shock this time well but still had steel in her red eyes as she replied, "Very well Hokage-sama, thank you for relaying his message." The Hokage nodded as he continued on his work. "Kurenai, the missing nin you brought in was a B-ranked nin and you will be compensated for the mission as well as the nin because your swordsman brought the package along with you." Kurenai responded, "Thank you Hokage-sama, if that is it. I must be going, I have a prior engagement that I hope I can still make." With a final wave of his hand and a "dismissed," Kurenai left the Hokage's office. "Was that good enough?" Sarutobi asked. "Hi Oji-san. She will not recognize me when we go get my new clothes and with my hair clean. Arigato." Naruto answered as he moved out from the secret room he had been hiding in when they were informed of Kurenai's approach. "I have one more appointment before we can go get your new outfit and apartment. Would you like to stay or would you like to go back in the room?" questioned Sarutobi. "I am going to sit on the sofa." Naruto answered and sat on the sofa swinging his little feet with his sword on his back, acting as the 7-year-old he really is. The Hokage smiled briefly before asking the secretary to bring in his last appointment of the day. In walked a teenager about Kurenai's age. She was just as beautiful as Kurenai and was hailed as the leader of the resistance within Kirigakure to fight the bloodline wars. She had red hair down to her knees in the back and a bang that covered her left eye, leaving on the right to actually be seen. Her dress fell around her in folds, leaving little to the imagination, yet seemingly at the same time hiding much more. Her green eyes sparkled with a sharp intellect. She greeted the Hokage. "Hello Hokage-sama, and thank you for seeing me," she said with a smile. She noticed Naruto and went a little starry-eyed over his cuteness, but remembered her purpose here and returned her attention to the leader of this village. "Hokage-sama, I am here on a diplomatic mission to request aid for our forces in combating the bloodline wars that have started up within Kiri so that we may keep the bloodlines safe." As Mei Terumi, as Naruto found out by listening in, was speaking with the old man pleading her case, he took the time to note her posture and the aura surrounding her. He noticed she had the same posture as many of the masked people who would occasionally help him when he was hurt. He assumed she was powerful, and going by the smell of burnt rock and moisture surrounding her, she was deadly. He had always been able to smell things pretty well and had written it off as a regular thing, considering he had no one else to compare himself to. The Hokage sighed and responded to the latest of Mei's points. "I am sorry, but we cannot afford to help you with your war at the current time. Please accept my dearest apologies, and I hope all goes well with you." Mei was downcast but became angry and said, "For a village that flaunts its bloodlines, you don't want to help others with their problems, I see," and proceeded to walk out of the office. However, something blocked her path. Naruto, sensing her anger and her intention of leaving, stood in the doorway and spoke to her when she almost knocked him over. "I hope you live, Mei-chan. You are a strong and deadly woman. Please take my hope that you will win such an awful thing within your home and come out safe and sound. Please do not be mad at Oji-san. He is just keeping his home safe, just as you are doing." Naruto smiled up at her. Mei's eyes softened and she spoke, "Don't worry, I am just frustrated." "What is your name, little one?" "Naruto." "Mei-chan, that is my name." Mei chuckled at her newfound suffix and said, "Well, Naruto-kun, live long, and I hope to see you again as well." With that, Mei left the village. The Hokage smiled, seeing Naruto's unnatural skill to bring even the worst of enemies together at work. "Come on, Naruto-kun, let us get you some new clothes and find out how much money is owed to you." The Hokage's eyes grew steel when he mentioned money. He had sent money every month to the orphanage for Naruto and had been doing so automatically for the past 4 years. It was time to learn where Naruto's inheritance money had been spent. Sarutobi grabbed the deed for the apartment complex he bought specifically for Naruto and motioned for the little boy to follow him. The Hokage took Naruto to a shinobi-only store to meet an old friend of his that he was sure would not discriminate against him for the burden Naruto carried. As they walked, they entered a shinobi-only district, which coincidentally is where Naruto's new apartment was located, so the Sandaime could have a closer eye on Naruto. While they were walking, the Hokage decided to question Naruto. "Naruto, have you considered what you want to do in life?" Naruto pondered for a few seconds and answered, "I want to become a shinobi, Oji-san. One so powerful I can protect all my precious ones and all the ones precious to them as well." The Hokage's eyes softened and he replied, "Then I shall have to send you to the academy, Naruto. It is not easy, and you will be a year younger than the other applicants. We will be extending the curriculum a full year once this year starts as well, so you will not graduate until you are 12, Naruto. It is a hard life filled with misery and death. Do you still want to attend?" It hurt to be so brutally honest, but the Hokage had to be sure Naruto wanted this, because even though he could do many things should the council wish it, Naruto attending the academy could prove to be hard to negotiate. The council has gained too much power as of recently, and it would take years for the Sandaime to revoke some laws and get the Hokage's power back in the correct hands. Naruto responded without hesitation, "I will become the most powerful shinobi to protect the people I consider precious." "Then let us get you what you will need for school. It will start in a few months and you need some supplies to go," the Hokage replied. They arrived at the store and Naruto was not impressed. It looked like a shack. The Hokage chuckled at Naruto's look. "All is not as it seems." But before he could say anything, Naruto's eyes narrowed. Naruto spoke up, "Oji-san, is there a genjutsu somewhere near here?" The Hokage's eyes widened and he decided he would have to have Naruto's sense tested to see if he was developing extra sense for some reason. "Hi Naruto-kun. The store is under a genjutsu so that only Anbu operatives may enter it. As a rule, only those who can break the genjutsu may shop here, but I am going to allow you to shop here because you managed to detect the genjutsu at such a young age. Naruto was ecstatic to be able to shop where the elite of the Hokage could and ran to the door before walking inside along with the sandaime. Once inside, Naruto was stunned at the cleanliness of the store and how modern it looked compared to the outside. He saw row upon row of kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, explosive tags, and even different swords to be used. He finally came full circle to see the counter and the older man residing behind it looking at Naruto with a critical eye. Naruto flinched back seeing this, and after gathering his courage glared back at the man as if daring him to try something. The older man suddenly laughed and spoke up. So? Naruto Uzumaki finally decides to grace my humble abode. Nice to meet ya, young man. My name is Kurisu. I was wondering when you would get around to scoping my shop out for some pranks on our favorite Anbu. Naruto beamed at the praise given by Kurisu and was glad to have someone who did not outright glare at him for some reason unknown to him. Well, I had to work my way up. Wouldn't want me getting caught now, would I? Kurisu chuckled at Naruto and said, "You, my boy, are going to be great, I can see it. Especially with the sandaime behind ya. Pick up whatever clothes you need. I will get your academy package ready, as I can guess you are attending the academy, and we will work out what will need to be paid for. One last thing though. What are you doing with such a blade?" Naruto responded with complete awe and respect. "Well, Kurisu ni-san. I found this blade named Kamakazi in a cave not far from town. He is very helpful. I like this one. Naruto-sama, please return here and converse with him some more, perhaps he can help with your training." Kamakazi spoke. "Hi Kamakazi." Kurisu smirked and said, "Off with ya now and pick out some true shinobi clothing. I have your weapons ready with your return and some new books." Naruto walked off within the store and browsed around. After a little time figuring out what he wanted, he finally picked out some basic Anbu-style clothing to last his training and figured he would buy another set of clothes when he graduated. So garbed in regular Anbu issue clothing, he emerged from the clothing room no longer in rags. With his hair hanging longer than normal making its way down his back. He made his way back to the counter after throwing away the rags. When he stood before the counter, the Hokage and Kurisu both were very pleased with his choices, and Kurisu spoke up. "Very good. Most your age would go for flashy colors, but you chose practical stuff. Here's your academy set, but I have real kunai and shuriken that will be ready to use when you reach the appropriate skill level. The books are standard academy issue with some notes scribbled on the side by real shinobi. I keep very few books here, but the ones I do are more educational than anywhere but the Hokage vault. Now for payment, let me see." Naruto waited with bated breath while Kurisu started ringing things up with his register. "Tell me, boy, where will you go to shop after you are finished here for your shinobi needs even while in the academy?" Naruto was a little taken aback but replied, "I would like to shop here, Kurisu ni-san, if you don't mind, that is." Kurisu pondered for a moment and said, "Then think of this as an investment should you shop here for the rest of your life. I will give you all this equipment and will only sell you the best equipment from now on. What say you, Naruto?" Naruto responded with tears in his eyes. "Hi Kurisu ni-san. Could I get some more sets of these clothes?" Naruto asked. "Of course, Oto-Uto." Naruto's eyes widened before hugging the older man and being sent on his way. The sandaime knew he had picked the right place to bring Naruto and knew that Kurisu would keep an eye on him. Should his Anbu fail, the sandaime decided to show Naruto his apartment and let him get settled while he would go track down the orphanage to gather his money. So while he led Naruto to his apartment, he was taken by surprise when he noticed Naruto now wore a mask similar to Kakashi Hatake. Now the sandaime was known as the Professor for a reason and instantly deduced that this was to serve two purposes. 1. Keep the villagers from recognizing him so fast without his whisker marks. Naruto stood out far less. 2. Keep Kurenai from learning his identity and being persecuted. He smiled at Naruto's ingenuity and came upon his apartment. "Here we are, Naruto. This apartment is yours. Here is your key and don't lose it, okay?" Naruto's eyes widened as he took in the spacious living room that he now owned. It contained a built-in sofa depression area. 1. with a flat-screen TV and a fireplace for cold nights. A king's chair, too, as well. Across from the entrance another doorway led to a small kitchen with a stove, oven, microwave and refrigerator. The pantry and fridge were stacked with healthy foods for Naruto to recover on. On the opposite wall of the TV a small hallway led to two bedrooms, one slightly larger than the other with adjoining bathroom and a hallway bathroom for guests. Naruto's eyes watered yet again as he took the sight in and hugged his Oji-san before he tested the rug within the bedrooms and sofa depression. Naruto, I need to take a short trip and when I get back we can go get dinner, okay? Sarutobi said. Hi Oji-san. Naruto yelled as he enjoyed bouncing on his new queen-sized bed that was like a lake for Naruto's little body. Naruto-sama, I suggest we take another bath to finish the process from yesterday and get ready for dinner. We will have to check that book you took for training. Naruto remembered that he took a book of seals written by his hero, the Yondaime, to help him while hiding as Oji-san talked to Kurenai. Naruto smirked. Hi kamakazi. The Hokage shunshined to the road leading to the orphanage that Naruto stayed at previously. He could feel his anger increasing in waves but he held it down so as to get what Naruto was owed. He walked into the orphanage and asked to speak to all the matrons since the little ones are eating dinner. All of the senior staff, the younger staff were hired after Naruto was kicked out, were assembled. The Hokage spoke. Where is Naruto Uzumaki? I did not see him with the other children. The matrons paled. They had been told the Hokage would not have time to see Naruto until he was 8 and could be thrown out of the orphanage for being too old as he would be attending a school and not the orphanage's problem anymore. But now here the Hokage was a year early and none of them knew where the boy of 4 years missing had gone. Hokage-sama, that boy is sleeping upstairs. He needs his rest after all. He is tired from his long day. The Hokage could feel the ire rising and said, Then one of you take me to him. I have an important matter to discuss with him. Trying to stop a disaster, the eldest of them there said, Hokage-sama, could it not wait for a few days so that the boy could sleep? Surely it is not so important as to awaken the boy. The Hokage finally had enough. Why can I not see Naruto? Is it that you do not know where he is? The matrons flinched. The Hokage spoke in a calm, deadly voice. No, you know not where he is because none of you have seen him in 4 years, have you not? For 4 years you have neglected to tell me you have lost the boy I had placed in your care. 4 years you took his money without giving it to him and have used it to buy others things he would need to survive. You will find all of his money and return it to me by the end of the day. I do not care if you must sell your personal belongings or your bodies to accomplish this task. It will be done or I will have you executed in the village square for child abuse. You owe me a total of 15. Ryu. 3. You will have it by the time I return or you will suffer the consequences. Do I make myself clear? The matrons shivered at the key being exuded and simply nodded before rushing off to their bank accounts to scrounge up the money they had been stealing for 4 years. The Hokage shunshined to Naruto's apartment and, finding him cleaned up, took him to eat at the Akamichi restaurant Naruto had told him he treated himself to on his birthdays. Naruto ate as ravenously as he did the night before and was content, returning Naruto to his home after having walked around the village for a few hours. He shunshined to the orphanage for his final act of the night. The matrons were waiting for him with the money in an envelope. He checked the money and said, Very well, you will keep your lives. The collection let out a sigh and smiled, thinking that was the extent of their punishment. However, you are all fired and will be sentenced to life in prison for no less than 15 years. Snapping his fingers, the matrons were all escorted away with looks of shock on their faces by Anbu. Sarutobi found the newer matrons and informed them of their promotions and shunshined to the bank to deposit the money in the account for Naruto. Having finished his reparations, the Hokage finally made his way to his bed and fell asleep. Across town, Kurenai was sitting in a bar with her fellow friends, Yugo Izuki, a Chunin Anbu with a heavy fascination for the sword arts or Kenjutsu, and Enko Mitarashi, a Chunin, who was the ex-apprentice to the snake Sanin Orochimaru, hated for being associated with him and supposedly being a spy despite the way he left her. Kurenai had related the tale of her mission and was gauging her friends' reactions. Yugo was looking starry-eyed at the thought of such an attack that could cut through jutsu, and Enko was thinking of the boy who saved her. So, what are you gonna do, Nai-chan? Enko asked. Kurenai sighed and responded, I want to find this boy. He is obviously very skilled and a good person. I would like to ask you guys to keep your eyes and ears peeled for such a person while on your missions, and I will do the same. Yugo immediately answered, Didn't he ask you not to look for him? Kurenai answered, I don't want to apologize to him, I just want to find out if he really helped only out of the goodness of his heart. Yugo said, Well, count me in, I want to find out what attack he used. It sounds amazing. Enko replied, Me too, I want to see what kind of person would do such a thing. Kurenai sighed and said, Thank you guys. I am getting tired of all these perverts going after us just for looks. We will find this guy, and who knows, maybe he will stay here in Konoha if he turns out to be good. Unfortunately, none of the women would hear anything about this mystery boy for almost 6 years. Back to Naruto. So what do you think, kamakazi? That will be most beneficial to the style I will be teaching you. You will have to work on your handwriting, but if you can apply the seal, it will make you exponentially more powerful without hindering your growth. Naruto smirked, looking at the seal the Yondaime used to train his body to handle the Hiraishin technique, and could feel himself getting stronger already. Naruto was ready for training. Time skip 5 years. Naruto cracked his eyes open and beheld his apartment. 5 years it had been since he acquired kamakazi, and he began his training under the sword master. Good morning, kamakazi. Good morning, Naruto-sama. How are you feeling after last night? Kamakazi replied, last night he had stepped up his training to figure out why he could not do that blasted Bunshin no jutsu. Kamakazi had said that it was because he held too much chakra and could not fine-tune it enough yet to make the clones. It was like putting your finger in front of a fire hose. I am fine, thank you, kamakazi. Naruto responded as he reviewed his training exercises. He knew the leaf floating, tree climbing, and water walking exercises, and could do them all while combing the leaf floating with the other two, but just could not seem to control his vast chakra reserves enough. Deciding to ponder it later, Naruto got up, stretched, and made his way to the kitchen to eat breakfast before going out in the dark. Since it was only 5 o'clock, and running his usual laps around Konoha before the populace gets up and sneers at him, he had used the same morning routine after getting settled within his new apartment. He would wake up each morning around 5 o'clock, do physical training, running, push-ups, sit-ups, and stretching while winding down. He had learned the exercises from Kurisu. Kamakazi had been right. Kurisu was a retired S-rank Anbu. He was feared in many small countries but kept a low profile so as not to attract attention. Kurisu gave him the control exercises, stating that, with your chakra reserves you are going to need them. Naruto was a little surprised but accepted Kurisu's help yet again. He had bought all his clothes and supplies from Kurisu and was surprised when the Anbu just accepted that he was a fixture there. When one customer sneered at him, Kurisu threw him out and told him to inform the rest of the Anbu to stay away if they cannot act civil. Needless to say, because Kurisu's store was the best, rivaled only by the Higurashis, none of the Anbu complained, and some actually came to like the blonde when he wasn't pranking. After training himself into the ground for about 5 hours, he would sit down and review some of the chakra theories and history taught in the academy until lunchtime around noon. He would eat lunch made by himself, after learning how to cook again from Kurisu. Although Kurisu's foods would always be spicy, he would train with kamakazi in the wind style. The style was not so much a style as it was a way of moving. Being one with the wind was the theme of the style. A few set stances, but it was a style meant to be flowing and erratic. You would react to your enemy's moves and expound upon the basic stances. It required a heavily agile body, unmatched reflexes and speed. Power was not necessary, but the training Naruto went through increased his strength to a respectable level for his age. Naruto's creative mind would, as kamakazi put it, within battle cause a strategist to cream his pants with one glimpse of his thoughts. After training with kamakazi, he would wind down with a look through the book of seals he had borrowed from the Hokage, whom had not seemed to notice the book was gone. The most ingenious seal that Naruto thought had ever been created, the resistance seal. The resistance seal, when applied correctly, would make it seem as if walking through air was as if walking through water. It would apply resistance opposite from the way you were moving to build up muscles and reflexes, making it the perfect seal to use for Naruto's styles. Naruto made sure not to over-make muscles so that he could remain agile and fast, not being weighed down by bulky muscles. The seal seemed to almost know this, and Naruto's body was streamlined like a runner. Not bulky but hard muscles lying underneath the skin. Recently he had realized he was probably the fastest person within the village when he removed the levels of his resistance seal. This seal surpassed the gravity seal because it did not weigh down on the body, thus it did not prevent growth, which Naruto had already been lacking. Naruto now stood at a proud 4 feet 10 inches, one of the tallest of his age group. Even within his current class he was taller than almost everyone else. In his class few had what it took to be ninja, and even of those only 3 stood out as actually making it. Tenten Higurashi, one of the only non-fangirls within the academy. She could hit a moving target from across the training field. It was easy to see she would become a weapons mistress. Naruto took an interest in her for her love of sharp pointy things, but she had never seen his sword. He was not allowed to bring it to school. Rock Lee, although being dead last, definitely had the guts and determination to be the taijutsu specialist he was training to become. Just looking at his hands proved his dedication. Finally, Rookie of the Year, or as Naruto called it, stick up my ass. Neji Hyuga, a claimed prodigy that was able to master the Juken, the Hyuga's fighting style. Naruto had stumbled across the modified caged bird seal that the Yondaime had been trying to make, and after gathering some materials started to expand upon it. Once he became a genin, he was rather sure it would only take a few months to make a seal that would allow that rift to be bridged. Naruto made his way to school for the genin test that he was to take today. It was finally the day he would be able to make genin and get further training in the ninja arts. Kurisu had given him some low-level jutsus to learn, but nothing with kick enough to do anything besides causing some minor discomfort to other shinobi. He had mastered many of the wind jutsus fast, just as Kamakazi said he would, and could not seem to get really anything above a D-rank fire jutsu. Fire seemed to be out of his grasp, though wind and surprisingly lightning seemed rather fond of him. Unfortunately for him, both of those types of jutsus were in short supply in the land of fire, and he wound up with only 3 C-rank jutsus and nothing above it. Although 2 of the jutsu could be upgraded to a B rank if he pumped more chakra into them, though he wasted a lot of chakra doing so. Naruto arrived at the academy and took his normal seat as the rest of his class filed in. He ignored the opening speech from the teacher and took his test when it was handed to him. He scoffed at the questions they were asking. Honestly, could anyone really fail this test? Turning his test over and closing his eyes, he took a nap while waiting the 45 minutes for the test to end. After that he went to the target practice and waited in line to be called up. He reached for his kunai and shuriken and flung them all one by one towards the targets, hitting the targets each time. Next he went to the taijutsu sparring mats and stood in front of a chunin that scowled at him. Naruto smirked in his head. If only I could show my actual taijutsu. Yes, Naruto had come up with a bastardized version of the hummingbird style used by the Yondaime in conjunction with the Hiraishin. The book he stole seemed almost like a journal of Yondaime's. It had clues to the actual katas but not a comprehensible amount of data, so Naruto used what he could. His mind came up with a style based upon it, and it was as deadly as the hummingbird style if he did say so himself. Although every time he would try to use it in his spars, the teachers would beat him and tell him that he was using the wrong style and make him use the academy style. So he gave up trying to use his own style and decided to hide it along with some of his other abilities. After all, deception is a ninja's best weapon, right? After losing to the chunin, who had not been holding back, he made his way to the ninjutsu portion of the test, hoping that he would not have to do the clone jutsu. He walked in and saw a chunin with a large scar across his face. He recalled this was Iruka-sensei. He was a nice person who only disliked Naruto when he pranked, and not that seemingly blind hatred the rest of the village held. Okay Naruto, I need you to do the Kawarimi, Henge, and Bunshin no jutsus. Crap. So much for not having to do the clone. Ah well, might as well give it a shot. Naruto had been able to do the clone jutsu once every 100 times or so and not come out with a totally dead clone, but one that could pass for a few seconds. He just had to hope he could pull it off this time. He did a sealless replacement and finished the hinge beautifully. He concentrated his chakra and put as little as possible into it, and with a muttered, "Bunshin no jutsu," the smoke revealed two dead-looking clones. Naruto hung his head and walked out of the door. "I am sorry, Naruto, but there is always next year," Iruka said as he left. Naruto left the academy, seeing no reason now that he had failed and had to wait another year to try the test. He headed to the Hokage monument to think he was always calmest there. "Naruto-sama, you mustn't let this get you down. There are other types of bunshin, are there not?" Kamakazi questioned once he had arrived in his usual spot on the Yondaime's head. "Hi Kamakazi. But I cannot gain access to the jutsu library because of the librarians." Ji-san said he could not help because he cannot show favoritism, and Kurisu has helped so much, I do not want to rely on him. Naruto thought back. How about those Anbu who always chase you after a prank? Wouldn't they know the techniques? Questioned Kamakazi, pulling Naruto out of his depression. Oh. The pranks, he had kept doing them to test his stealth and speed. He could honestly say he was nigh undetectable when he wanted to be. Only 4 Anbu seemed capable of catching him. One was a dolphin mask that he could swear seemed familiar. He still couldn't figure out how they did it. Indeed, they would know the techniques. In fact, they would know the strongest of them. "Kamakazi, my dear sword. What do you say we plan 2 more pranks? One for the Anbu and one for my graduation in a year." Naruto chuckled evilly as he gained that mysterious glint in his eye that made everyone in the village shiver from the wrath of the prankster king. Naruto had already infiltrated the Anbu headquarters when he was younger just to see if he could do it. He had played pranks on everyone in the village to point out weak spots in the village's defense. He had a folder for the Hokage to use as leverage should he ever need it to keep himself safe and be viewed as worthy to the village. When he makes Genin, he plans on giving it to the old man to improve the village. He came up with this plan about a year ago after he had infiltrated the Hyugas, and one of them threatened him afterwards, but they couldn't prove it was him. He decided to be cautious. After all, he had not gotten this far being careless. Right now he needed to survive the village itself. After planning and acquiring his supplies, Naruto stole from the stores for what he needed. It helped his stealth, and he could not eat if he did not. However, he would only steal from the stores that threw him out. The ones that even overcharged him he would leave alone in respect for them. With this policy, he had plenty of money for his shinobi equipment. He had already replaced his original outfit many times when he hit his growth spurt. Even with this spending, Naruto had about 12,000 ryu saved up from what he originally got and his monthly stipend. He was also in the process of making an anti-rape seal. After hearing Kurenai's account, he had immediately decided if he would stop rape. He was curious on why his hinges were real. He had wondered about it, but once he realized it, he found this would be the best way to save Kunoichi from their fate worse than death. He had 2 problems with it currently: where to get the chakra for the technique for, and how to make his process into the seal. He almost had the seal done, but the chakra was proving a hard thing to find. He figured once he could figure this out, he could market it and gain money in a honest and very good way. Naruto snuck along the rooftops in his prankster outfit. He wore his usual Anbu attire, but he had a few additions and a better mask. The mask covered most of his face and changed his hair back to the black color. He carried his kunai and shuriken, blunted just to make the chasers, if there were any, try to dodge, and if they failed, it did nothing more than bruise. Naruto never threw it at a person's face, so the only danger was a male. He never had to use these unless those 4 Anbu found him. He also carried kamakazi with him, strapped across his back, with his left hand being the one to pull the blade because he added another sensor on top of Naruto's already enhanced senses. He had been tested by the Hokage for enhanced senses and had found out he owned senses rivaling the nin dogs of the Inuzukas. That's better than the Inuzukas themselves. He was about a block from the Anbu headquarters when Kamakazi spoke up. "Naruto-sama, there is a team returning to your left." Naruto nodded, having sensed them almost the moment Kamakazi spoke up. He hid in the shadows and watched as they entered the compound. Naruto had stumbled across this place a year ago and had located the 2 guards always posted there rather easily. One guard was across the street drinking from a bottle of whiskey that was expired about 10 years ago. The other was always sitting in the all-night cafe eating the same dango and reading the book that went out of style about 3 years ago. Naruto snuck past the guard's watchful eyes and reached the roof of the compound. Naruto had managed to steal some basic blueprints from the records office while he had been visiting the old man. So he knew the library with the jutsu was located somewhere near the baths. Oddly enough, the exhaust system to keep the scrolls fresh and the baths were connected. Naruto found the vent leading into the compound and slid himself into the tight space. He had hanged himself smaller than normal so he would not make that much noise. It was risky to use even this little amount, but he would make way too much noise if he was his usual size. He managed to crawl all the way to the hallway leading to the library. He avoided a few traps but did not want to risk going in through the ducts to the library for fear of advanced traps he might not be ready for. So after checking that the coast was clear, he dropped down and released his henge to stop his chakra output. He made his way to the library and opened the door. Wow, not much security What Naruto didn't know was that the Anbu were getting a new commander tonight and most were at the naming of said commander. He quickly located the Bunshin section of the jutsu. Ah, here we are. Naruto looked at the collection and wondered why he hadn't thought of this earlier. Quickly grabbing the last scroll titled Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he copied it down with a jutsu he had learned from Kurisu. Kurisu did this for any popular scroll. It copied the scroll from your original to the blank scroll. Rolling the scroll back up, Naruto decided to take a few seconds to check the lightning section and the wind section if he could. He found a few B-ranked lightning and 2 B-ranked wind. Deciding he had overstayed his rather generous welcome, he snuck back to the hallway and made his way to the changing rooms. He put sneezing powder in all of the masks there, first the males then the females, and turned to leave when the door opened to the shower. Heat rolled into the changing room as Naruto turned around to face the person who had caught him. His breath caught in his throat as he beheld the beauty standing in front of him. She had purple hair down to her mid-back. Her D-cup breasts sticking out from the cold compared to her shower. Her chest and groin were covered by a single towel. Her thighs and legs well toned as all Anbu were. Stopping his ogling, he finally looked into the woman's eyes and noticing her amber eyes narrowing in anger, decided to beat a hasty retreat. He quickly said, "Kai," and disappeared in a flash. Gomen na Murasaki Heim. Purple Princess. He hit her in the back of the neck with the butt of his sword and knocked her out. As she fell, the towel she had been holding fell loose and Naruto was treated to her, flashing him. Quickly bashing down his forming inner pervert, he covered the beauty again and hanged himself back into his smaller form and re-entered the air ducts. He climbed his way out and headed home for a good night's rest. Timeskip. Next morning, Yugo woke up with a headache. She quickly put her guard up when she then realized she was in the Anbu infirmary. She started to wonder why she was here before she realized what had happened. She shot up and checked for her clothes. She noticed she was garbed in the regular infirmary gown and looked around for her clothes. Noticing them on the chair next to her bed, she put them on and walked off to find her captain to report the disturbance. As much as she wanted to keep the embarrassment hidden, if an unknown managed to infiltrate the headquarters, it needed to be known. Finding her captain and quickly explaining the situation, she was taken to the commander's office. Standing in front of the commander, she was confused as to why she would be taken to the commander for this. Sure, it was important, but something else must have gone down for her to be involved. "So Miss Izuki, you had a run-in with the unknown assailant last night within the Anbu changing rooms and were knocked out almost as soon as you noticed he was there?" "Hi." The assailant had black hair, blue eyes, was about 13 to 15 years of age, carried a shuriken and kunai pouch on his left leg and had a sword resting along his back. Yugo answered swiftly and respectfully. "Interesting. I assume he is the one for all the ruckus this morning. He a worthy prank if I do say so myself." The commander mused. "Prank, sir?" Yugo asked. "Yes, prank. You see, after my inauguration last night, every Anbu who put their masks back on immediately started a sneezing fit that would not let up for several hours. It seems this assailant only knocked you out because you caught him in the act, so to speak." The commander replied. "You are dismissed, but if you ever catch this young man, please give him my thanks for brightening up the ANBU's days. It has been many a year since I have had such a good laugh." Yugo saluted and left the room, getting her cleaned mask back, and was wondering how she could catch such a worthy person. That sword was no toy, it was radiating power, and he radiated skill that should not be found in one so young. She was excited in finding this guy. Now that she thought about it, that sword seemed familiar for some reason. After pondering it for a bit as she walked back to her apartment, she came across the hilt of the blade. Wait a minute. Black hair. A sword with a swirl on the hilt. This was Kurenai's swordsman. But why would he be pranking the Anbu? He was supposed to be a wandering swordsman. Putting that out of her mind, now that she thought about it, his eyes did flash red when he disappeared. She was sure this was that boy. Now she had to tell Kurenai that he lived here now and that he had gotten better. She was to meet Kurenai and Enko tonight anyways. Perhaps she could spar with him. Time skipped. That night Kurenai was in good spirits. She was due to take the Genin exams in 2 months and her genjutsu had never been better. She kept finding these random notes that would give her good ideas to come up with good genjutsus. She was now ranked a high B-ranked ninja. Her body had filled out and she could tell she still had some more growing to do. Her breasts were C-cup bordering D-cup. She had grown taller, but only really in the legs, so her breasts seemed a bit bigger than they actually were. She was still the ice queen of Konoha. Only one person had she found decent enough to date, and that had been Asuma Sarutobi. She was still seeing him on and off, but she could not see doing anything past being friends at this point. She walked into the bar she and her friends always met at. She was looking forward to seeing Yugo. She had been so busy with Anbu lately they had rarely any time to hang out. Enko was still her exuberant self and had managed to get into the T&I division of the Anbu. She was a Tokubetsu Junin. 1. She had taken to wearing a mesh shirt with a tan overcoat that did little to hide her body. She flaunted it to say, "Fuck you," to all the villagers that scorned her. Kurenai was sad for her friend, but Enko would never want pity. So she was the best friend Enko could want. She was hoping to become a Junin sensei for Hinata Hyuga's sake. She had met her when she was still a Chunin and knew she had confidence issues. She also wished to impart her knowledge onto the younger generation to get some genjutsu into their heads. If she passed the Junin exams in 2 months, she was going to request a team. Turning her attention back to the present, she noticed her 2 friends waiting in the same booth they always had and made her way over. "Good evening. Yugo-chan." "Enko-chan." "Good evening, Nai-chan." Enko responded as exuberant as ever. "Good evening, Kurenai," Yugo said with a smile. They were all wearing civvies, drawing the attention of almost every male within the bar. Kurenai sat down and ordered her food along with Yugo and Enko. All ordered sake. Kurenai got some yakitori, Yugo some tempura, and Enko some dango. After their food had been delivered, they sipped their sake, making some small talk until Yugo spoke up. "I believe I have something that might interest you, Kurenai." Kurenai's eyebrow rose as a signal to show she was interested, and Yugo complied. "Last night I was taking a shower after returning from my most recent mission. I finished my shower and walked into the changing room. The rest of the Anbu were welcoming our new commander." Pausing to take a sip of sake, she saw she had their full attention and continued. "I opened the door and I see a boy about 13 to 15 years of age snooping around within the changing rooms. At this their visages go to hatred. They do not like perverts, as all women have a normal radar against them. I observed him for a second before he turned around. He had a sword strapped to his back with a swirl for the tsuba. This had Kurenai's full attention. He had black hair that fell to his mid-back, tied together to form a kind of mane. When he turned around I caught a flash of his eyes that were blue." Kurenai's eyes fell. Another dead end. She had looked for years. She no longer looked actively, but still occasionally asked around. As did her friends. However, upon noticing me he said, "Kai," and his eyes flashed red before he disappeared and knocked me out. At this their eyes widened. The swordsman seemed to be back within Konoha. But what would he be doing within Anbu headquarters? Was he a pervert? Yugo saw their thought process and said, "I do not think he is a pervert. When I awoke this morning I heard of a prank that had been played upon all the Anbu operatives, that all of them had sneezing powder put within their masks." At this Kurenai's face turned to mirth and started to chuckle at Enko's face. She had been caught by the prank and swore whoever it was would pay. Yugo chuckled as well at her friend's face. So Kurenai, it seems your swordsman is no longer wandering. If you manage to find him, I would like a match. He came across as one with skills far beyond his years. Kurenai nodded and the night continued. Kurenai went to bed that night thinking of the noble boy who had rescued her so many years ago. Time skip 2 weeks. Naruto had been trying to find some time to train in the last 2 weeks. He had always hidden his jutsu training from the old man. Deception. It hurt, but Naruto knew if something happened and he was alone, he would need people to either underestimate him or not have the correct information. In the past 2 weeks the old man had been here almost daily, and if not him, Kurisu would stop by. He finally allayed their fears. He was depressed and assured them that he was going to graduate the next time. Finally. A day to myself. Now let's check out that Bunshin jutsu. You know they only do it because they care. Kamakazi said. So Naruto unsealed the Kage Bunshin and began reading the jutsu. Kage Bunshina ranked Kinjutsu. This jutsu was deemed forbidden by the Nidaime Hokage for the extensive use of chakra it uses. This clone takes half of the original's chakra and makes a solid clone that can fight and recon in place of the original. However, the clone is very fragile, requiring very little actual force to dispel, unlike the water or earth clones. Everything learned within the life of the clone is transmitted back to the original and all remaining chakra is returned. Then it listed the single hand sign need for the jutsu. Naruto was stunned. This was the perfect jutsu for him. He had extra reserves according to Chris and Kamakazi. This would also help on his control. He could study at the library at the same time. Amazing, the possibilities were endless. He quickly got to work on using the jutsu. About 4 hours later. At about 5 in the afternoon. I got it. Naruto shouted as he looked at his fully formed clone. Congratulations Naruto-sama, now we can definitely pass next year. Kamakazi stated. Naruto gave a mental nod and decided to train until sundown. He was in the forests behind the Hokage monument. No one ever came near here. So with a cry of Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, 150 Narutos appeared. Okay, I want group 1 of 50 working on tree climbing while combining the leaf floating exercise. Group 2 of 50 working on water walking while combining with the leaf floating. Group 3 of 20 working with cutting those leaves for wind chakra. Group 4 of 20 work on lighting these light bulbs I had. Group 5 of 10 take kamakazi 5 using your left hand. 5 using your right, give me stances. Thrusts and slashes upward and downward. Muscle memory worked with the clones also. Naruto summoned 5 more clones. Henge into someone else and go red in the library. 1 take anatomy, we need to finish that seal. 1 find cookbooks. Another elemental theory. Another look up clan laws. Another read the most current laws to date. The 5 clones dispersed and Naruto began physical conditioning after upping his resistance seal to level 4. The Yondaime had been on level 8 when his body could handle the Hiraishin. With Naruto's hyper recovery his body was fixing itself faster and thus his progress with the seal surpassed the Yondaime's. A few hours later Naruto had decided to head in for the night with all of these clones training. He told them to dispel and unfortunately for him he had not specified to dispel themselves in groups and they all dispelled at once. Naruto was immediately knocked unconscious. Mindscape Naruto opened his eyes to a sewer. The water was only about ankle level. There were 3 types of pipes along the walls. One was glowing bluish-white, this was the smallest. The largest was reddish-orange. Finally, one that was slightly larger than the bluish-white glowed a healthy crimson with streaks of gold. Confused as to where he was he spoke out. Hello. Naruto-sama. You are alright? Kamakazi responded. Naruto felt his back for his sword and felt him there as a comforting presence. Where are we, Kamakazi? Naruto asked. We are in your mind, Naruto-sama. I occupy a space within your mind as the wind free and flowing upon a meadow of grass stretching as far as the eye can see, but there is this corner of your mind that I dare not venture. There is an ancient entity that I cannot face without you. Kamakazi replied. Naruto was officially spooked already. If Kamakazi was unsure of himself then this entity was powerful. Well, Naruto said. Might as well find out what that seal on my stomach holds. Kamakazi. That's right, Naruto was almost a seal's master himself. He knew that the seal held something, but the only clue he had to go on was demon. He had his theories, but Naruto was never one to make wild guesses, so he kept it to himself and figured the old man would tell him when he thought he was ready. However, if he had made Genin and not been told, Naruto might have demanded the answer. Naruto started his trek towards the ancient entity. As he continued, he noticed a heavy air. It swirled around with a maliciousness Naruto had not ever felt. The key was getting insufferable, yet Naruto went on and finally came to a room with no ceiling in sight and huge bars kept shut with what appeared to be a single piece of paper with the kanji for seal on it. So my container has finally decided to visit me after all these years. A malicious chuckle filled the air. Naruto asked, "Who are you?" "Who am I? Surely they have told you who you carry, worthless ninja," the voice bellowed. Ki choking Naruto before he regained his senses. Without showing it, the Kyuubi was impressed. Not many could withstand its ki without debilitating consequences. "If I knew who you were, I would have called you your name. Do not insult me. It seems we are stuck together. Let us act civil for now until we can resolve whether we will be friends or not," Naruto responded. "Friends?" The Kyuubi scoffed. "Who would make friends with a demon?" Naruto flinched, memories from his childhood flashing before his eyes. "Peace, Naruto, I am here. I am your friend. A sentient sword, and a powerful one at that, very impressive ninja." "Very well, Naruto Uzumaki, my name is the Demon Lord of the Foxes, the Kyuubi no Kitsune." Naruto nodded, his suspicions confirmed before asking, "Is there a reason for attacking my village? Need a demon a reason to cause death and destruction?" The Kyuubi said, a grin hanging on its lips as it revealed itself in all its glory. Its 9 tails swinging wildly with its reddish-orange fur. "No, but I can see through your mask. I wore one for most of my life before making my few friends. Please tell me the real reason," Naruto said, immediately knowing a fake answer from a lie told to prevent pain. The Kyuubi's eyes narrowed. "Very good, ninja, but you have not earned the right to know of the truth. But I would ask a boon of you if you will. Put your hand upon the cage. I wish to see the life my pampered container has lived." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Why would you think I led a pampered life?" The Kyuubi responded. "That was the last thing your Yondaime, I believe it was, said before he sealed me. See him as the hero he is." Naruto's eyes widened before going to their usual apathetic state. "Very well, Kyuubi, but know this. Try anything and I will lock you up in a tighter cage than this, and you will never see the light of day again." Kyuubi was impressed he had the balls to threaten it. Kyuubi chuckled. "Very well, ninja, I will not try anything on word of my demon self. That is something no demon is willing to lose." Naruto nodded, satisfied with the Kyuubi, before starting toward the bars. Kamakazi spoke up, "Be careful, Naruto-sama, what Kyuubi may not consider harmful could actually be harmful to you." Naruto continued his trek, confident and sure. He laid his hand on the bars and said, "Come, Kyuubi, see the life I have lived and see if you respect me after this." Kyuubi laid its paw along the bars and viewed Naruto's life. When the transfer was finished, Kyuubi roared, its 9 tails lashing the bars, trying to get out the cage. "Let me out! Those child beaters! They will pay! What rubbish! Humans can be more demonic than the worst demon." The Kyuubi continued on its tirade of the villagers before Naruto spoke. "Stop, please." The Kyuubi's eyes softened and spoke. "Nin no Kit. Calling you a part of the human race is too high an honor for them. Your life has been the worst I have ever seen. Within Makai it is considered taboo to harm a child, and these villagers have deliberately harmed you. State one request and I will grant it if it is within my power." Naruto thought long and hard for a request and decided, "Kyuubi, could I hold on to the request for a later date? I am content within my life right now." The Kyuubi was a little surprised but nodded. "Very well, Kyuubi, I have seen what I had hoped. Most stories do not show you as overly bloodthirsty, and your yokai has healed me many times when I was young." With that being said, Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated. The seal flashed, causing the Kyuubi to cover its eyes, and when it opened them it saw a beautiful meadow with oversized game for it to hunt and a miniature Konoha for it to destroy. The Konoha has a one-time only policy. Once it is destroyed it will stay for a little bit but will disappear. Your one chance on revenge, because I doubt I will let you out. Kyuubi was overjoyed it would finally get some sunshine and it was not stuck within sewage water. Also, I have given you access to my senses, so you can feel the outside world again. When you are ready, please tell me what really happened the night of your attack. The Kyuubi noticed that trees now represented the seal and they acted as bars to separate it from him. The Kyuubi nodded and Naruto sat down to wait until he woke up. As Naruto faded away some time later, Kamakazi returned to the wind and spoke to Kyuubi without Naruto hearing. We have an amazing master, do we not? Kyuubi-sama? Kyuubi simply looked at the wind before curling up and catching the first sunshine it could in 12 years. Time skip 1 year. Naruto thought about all that had happened in the past year. He had mastered the Kage Bunshin and used it to increase his control. He had learned about weapon balancing and was currently in the process of learning to use Kunai, after which the final was Senbon balancing. His chakra control was still shot, which he learned that was due to Kyuubi's chakra being inserted into him. Kyuubi could do nothing about this, but in return for this knowledge of why the Kyuubi was feeling a bit weaker, it taught Naruto a small demonic genjutsu which hid Kamakazi's notable feature and kept it so that not many villagers would look twice at Naruto, making it seem as if Naruto was unimportant. Naruto had been relieved when it worked because he was scared that the Anbu operative might be friends with Kurenai. If only you knew. And wind up putting Naruto in a mess. Naruto was a little suspicious at first because of the Kyuubi actually offering to help, but Kyuubi had made it a point to say not to expect this often and that having access to his sense more than made up for it. Naruto also noticed a sharpening of his senses even further than before, and when questioning Kyuubi it simply replied, "It must be a side effect of me having access to yours." He had gotten put into Iruka-sensei's class. It was filled with clan heirs. He had read all the most recent laws of Konoha, so he could not be blinded-sided by the council for their blind hatred. Kyuubi had asked if Naruto held any resentment at all and he replied, "A bit. I am not sure how to completely forgive them for being simply idiots, but that is also why I can almost not blame them. They are simply too ignorant to see past their hurt." Naruto was mainly angry at the villagers for denying the last wish of a Hokage. Such a thing would be disgraceful to any of the past Hokages, but these people hailed the Yondaime as a hero but did not take his last words to heart. The clan heirs were actually a good batch of shinobi with a couple of regulars that could make the cut, unlike his last class. First was Choji Akamichi, the clan he had always scrounged his treats from. He found out later. He was a jovial soul who would always be seen with a bag of chips within his hands. He was a laid-back fellow who would only really get going if someone called him a fat ass. Next was Shikamaru Nara, the clan of geniuses. He was the epitome of lazy genius with an IQ over 200 and the only one within the class to have seen Naruto as something beyond dead last. He was a formidable opponent and the only one who could play Naruto to a standstill or beat him in shogi. Something Chris had taught him the basics of. Next was Shino Aburame, clan of bugs. He was much like Naruto. Actually, his clan was not well liked for something within his body, so he quickly befriended the quiet, logical child and built a camaraderie. He had yet to tell him of his burden, but he was sure Shino suspected something, for his bugs would be wary of Naruto if he would be in a bad mood. Next was Kiba Inuzuka, clan of nin dogs, trackers and all-around decent shinobi. These led the Hunter Nin division in conjunction with the Aburames. Kiba was loud, brash, obnoxious, and ignorant to a fault. However, he was loyal and courageous, everything a dog would be. You could say he was the nin dog, and Akamaru, his nin dog, was the human, but he was a good person overall, if a bit of a pervert. Next was Sakura Haruno. No clan, just a councilwoman on the civilian council. She was a fangirl through and through, but had a smart head on her shoulders that would lead her far into the med-nin field if she put her mind to it. Naruto nicknamed her Howler Monkey. Whenever someone mentioned Sasuke, she would go off on how great he is. TCH fangirls. Another was Ino Yamanaka's clan of mindwalkers. Another fangirl, though not as bad as Sakura. She was nowhere near where she could be within her own training. Another was Hinata Hyuga, clan of nobility and Byakugan within Konoha. She was a weird one. She was shy, timid, and nice. Almost everything Hyugas are not, she was. She was the only one Naruto would not consider a fangirl, but she was nowhere near her actual level of strength because of her kindness and crush on himself. She had only known him a year, but Naruto knew if he was on her team he would have to break her heart so she could function properly. Finally, the emo king himself. The council's golden boy. Sasuke Uchiha. Clan of the Sharingan. It allows the user to copy any ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu it sees and use it as your own. When Sasuke was 5, his older brother had murdered the rest of his family except him and left him as a self-acclaimed avenger. Naruto felt sorry for the boy for losing his family but was pissed on how he ignored the adoration of his fangirls, expected everything to be handed to him on a silver platter, and was only gaining power to kill. All in all, Naruto did not like Sasuke Uchiha one bit. Ruka-sensei walked into class and after using his demon head no jutsu, got the class to quiet down. He passed out the written test and Naruto answered it as easily as he did the last year. Laying his paper face down, he drifted off to sleep as he saw Shikamaru doing the same. He woke up to Iruka's yelling and headed out to the target practice. He got in line for the practice and waited for his turn. When Sasuke's turn came up, he grabbed all of them with his hands, 5 shuriken in one and 5 kunai in the other, and flung them all at the same time. He hit every bullseye. Naruto, sure he was going to pass, walked upright during the applause, grabbed all of them with his hands and without looking at the targets flung them at the targets. Huh? You can't even hit the bullseye. Sasuke smirked. Ruka-sensei, could you check where the kunai and shuriken landed please? Naruto said in a calm voice. Ruka rechecked the weapons and gasped. You were not aiming for the bullseye, were you? No, Ruka-sensei. Naruto passes this with extra marks. After getting yelled at by fangirls, Iruka explained. Naruto did not hit the bullseye, that is true, however. Each of his hits would be deadly to the enemy and your enemy will not always allow you a free shot. Sasuke ground his teeth. Lucky shot. Naruto failed the taijutsu yet again because of Mizuki-sensei. The same from last year, not allowing his own personal style and not holding back. Naruto was nonplussed. He was sure he was going to graduate. Naruto walked into the ninjutsu portion of the test and listened to his instructions. I need you to use Kawarimi, Henge, and Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto, to pass you must show each. Hi Iruka-sensei. Can it be any Bunshin? Naruto asked. Iruka just nodded but narrowed his eyes at the question. Naruto replaced himself with Mizuki-sensei. He hanged himself into a perfect example of the Sandaime pipe and all. He hanged into Sasuke brooder look and all. Finally, with a soft cry of Kage Bunshin, 5 Kage Bunshin appeared next to Naruto. You passed, Naruto, congratulations. Iruka said, sincerely surprised about the Kage Bunshins. Naruto placed his headband upon his head and walked back to sit in the classroom. Iruka walked back into the room and said, Okay everyone, please report back here in 2 days' time for team placements and to find out who is Rookie of the Year. Dismissed. The young ninja dispersed into the crowds of waiting parents and Naruto went home with a smile on his face at finally being a ninja and take that first step to his dream. The Hokage sighed looking at the team placements. This flawed system seemed to hurt more than help. Indeed, because Naruto had come in at the last year instead of being mid-class as he had been trying to do, instead of excelling he had wound up tied with Kiba Inuzuka for the dead last position of the class. No doubt due to tampering by the academy, but the Hokage had no proof so he had to accept it. He did not expect more than 3 teams to pass the final test, but the question was who would get those teams. Kakashi Hatake was one. Sarutobi was considering his son for the Ina Shika Cho second generation. That left 1 spot to fill. The Hokage went and looked at the list for the Junin sensei and chuckled. Oh, this will be interesting. A drop of blood fell from the Hokage's nose before he wiped it and decided on the teams. He would let people plead their case later, but he was rather happy with the way he had the teams and only someone with a very good argument would change them. The Hokage mused as he waited for more of his damned paperwork to arrive. The past 6 years had been good to Konoha. He had managed to wrest most of his power back at this point, though the council still held too much power. He had an iron grip when it came to enforcing the laws now. He chuckled as he thought of the pranks Naruto had played and hoped the boy realized that it was twofold. He was pretty sure he did, but Naruto was one of the people the Hokage had a hard time reading since he acquired his blade and began living on his own. Oh, he could get a bead on what Naruto was thinking, but he always managed to surprise him. That Anbu prank was hilarious. He sighed as he looked out at the Hokage monument when it shimmered and... Wait a minute, shimmered? All of a sudden the Hokage monument was covered in paint for the Hokages. A tree painted on the first's face. A sweat drop on the second. A nosebleed for the third and for the fourth. A yellow streak across his nose. Sarutobi was amused and angry at the same time. Funny for his grandson's skill and angry for showing him as a pervert and nothing more. Then a primate shimmered onto the third's face. Sarutobi nodded his head as if that settled the issue and started to laugh. Time skip. That evening all of the Junin sensei had arrived -1. The Hokage was waiting for this person and had told him to be here 3 hours earlier, so when he arrived 1 hour late the Hokage sighed and said, "Welcome, Kakashi." Kakashi's eye narrowed. "You told me to come earlier than the actual time, didn't you?" The Hokage chuckled. "Now why would I do something like that?" Whistling innocently. Before sporting a grin that had some of the former Anbu flinching. "Now then, let us get on with the team placements, shall we? Please, if you have any preferences, state them now." Kakashi spoke up. "I would like Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki." Many were surprised who would want the demon boy. The Hokage narrowed his eyes. "Why Naruto?" "Because they have a form of rivalry and it will spur them both on, but Sasuke must remain stronger for it to work." Kakashi stated. "So you would intentionally weaken a potential ninja just for the betterment of another." Pathetic Kakashi. "Sasuke is granted and Naruto." "I will see." Kakashi seemed taken aback by the venom in the Hokage's voice before nodding and sitting down to read his favorite little book. Only to cry out, "My eye." Someone had changed out his precious smut with yaoi. There was a chibi Naruto with a V sign. All the females chuckled when they noticed it and made notes to treat the boy nicer next time they saw him. Asuma spoke up. "I would like to request the next generation Ina Shika Cho." "Very well, any objections?" None of the Junins spoke up, so the Hokage nodded and jotted it down. "Granted." The Hokage looked up and noticed someone he was hoping for. Kurenai had made it to her Junin rank and she was willing to take on a team. She stepped forward and said, "I would like Hinata Hyuga. The rest of my team I would prefer a tracker team." The Hokage nodded, then a small smile graced his face. "Any objections?" Kurenai was a little worried when the Hokage smiled. That usually meant he planned something, and with him being the guiding force for the strongest ninja village in the land, that was something to be wary about. No one spoke up and the Hokage smiled a bit wider. "Granted," he said with some enthusiasm. He chuckled pervertedly in his head. Oh, did he have the best prank? The rest of the pickings went by fast with no one of particular interest until they were finally done. The Hokage was pleased with all of his Junin except Kakashi. That remark about Naruto reminded him too much of what Naruto had already gone through in life and said, "Okay, the decisions have been made and the teams are." Time skip. Next morning Naruto awoke from his peaceful slumbers with Kyuubi and Kamakazi. "Morning, Kyuubi Kamakazi," he thought. The fox replied fastest, "Kit," and Kamakazi right after, "Good morning, Naruto-sama." He was in a good mood. Today was when he would find out what his team was. But this was a bad omen to Naruto. Whenever he was in a good mood, something always happened to send it down the toilet. Now Naruto was by no means a pessimist, but he believed that very good mornings were really only okay when you had someone to share it with. Somewhere within the city and in Mizu no Kuni 4 women sneezed. Deciding to just enjoy it while it lasted, he started on his usual morning ritual but did not do as much training as normal so as to get that new outfit he had promised himself and to be ready for whatever his team training may entail. After breakfast, Naruto made his way to Chris' shop yet again. He had told Chris pretty much everything about himself. He was his closest confidant and he could count on Chris to help him should he need it. As such, he knew about all his pranks and honestly roared with laughter at what he did a year ago. Walking into the store and greeting Chris, "Ohio Chris ni-san, ohio o tuto." Chris replied back, Coming to get your new wardrobe? Hi. Naruto responded. Chris pulled out a long black box and set it on the counter. Consider this a present from me to you for graduating. It has repair seals and growth seals, so it should be nigh indestructible. Naruto took the box and opened it. Inside lay a beautiful coat. It was black with some streaks of crimson on it. Upon its back rested a kyubi surrounding a sword with wind whipping it up, seeming almost as if the kyubi was protecting the sword while at the same time riding the wind. Naruto was stunned with the intricacy of the needlework and hoped he never broke this. That is ninja silk made from nin spiders, so only the hottest fires will burn the cloak. Wear it with pride. I have set aside some of the money you paid when you came here and have saved up to make this for you, with you paying half. Arigato ni-san, Naruto said. Naruto ventured further into the store to pick out compliments to his new coat. Choosing a mesh shirt to go underneath a crimson shirt made with lightweight metal links within the shirt. Black cargo pants with a place for his kunai and shuriken and a hidden pocket for some senbon. He grabbed some sturdy sneakers to house his feet. He always wondered why a ninja would wear sandals when he would be attacking with his feet. Unfortunately, boots were too heavy, but these lightweight sneakers with a steel woven tip made him a bit toe heavy, but it would have to work for now. So wearing his new outfit, he stepped out of the changing booth and donned his new cloak. It reached down to about mid-calf and did not obstruct mobility. All in all, he was very pleased with his new outfit. He paid for his outfit and ordered about 5 more like it and headed off to school. As he walked, he received weird looks, but few were of hatred. They were wondering who would wear the 9 tails on his back, but he was proud of it. Damn straight you're proud, Kyubi remarked. Naruto smirked behind his face mask. He had finished the anti-rape seal and got the old man to test it, and he had some punk named Jiraiya to look over the seal. It had been accepted as a revelation, but he had not announced when it would hit stores or even that he was going to sell it. None of the women had been told of it yet to avoid a riot, because Naruto refused to sell it yet. He had finished its testing days ago and was finally cleared to get it start selling. He found chakra-holding seals within the Shiki Fuin and modified them to hold chakra, so the henge transformation would last up to a month. It may not save all of the women, but it would save a good amount. It worked by storing chakra in it when it was applied and had a one-time usage. Once activated, it would remain active until the kunoichi decided to cut it off. Because of the small amount of chakra a henge takes, the small henge could last a month before dispelling. Once the technique was stopped or dispelled, you had to reapply the seal to have access to it again. As a side note, it was able to be turned off. It activated when a person tried to invade the kunoichi's pussy or ass, or if the kunoichi activated it. The seal would sense the intrusion and automatically activate should the kunoichi have it turned on. This kept them from being raped while knocked out. It would knock the person back with a small burst of chakra and engage the henge. No side effects have surfaced, and it was hailed as genius even by Jiraiya. The caged bird seal was next on his list after that. Naruto liked seals, but too many could become a problem within the world. He would make some for his family home and the like, but that field was too dangerous to tamper with. Naruto arrived at the academy. He made quite the imposing figure. He had grown a few inches in the last year, making him a flat 5 feet with his cloak billowing in the wind. His face mask covering his mouth and cheeks and the hilt of his sword. The swirl is hidden by that demonic genjutsu sticking up from his right shoulder. Some of the students avoided him outright, and he smirked underneath his face mask as he made his way to the classroom for what was, hopefully, the final time. When he walked in, all of the class froze, stunned at the new appearance. He had never come in so blatantly obvious. Trying to look more like me, Dobi? Sasuke said, trying to bring some of the attention back to him. No, if I were, I would cut my hair to look like a duck's ass. Naruto responded quickly. Now that he was a genin, he could let loose a little because the council could not touch him. The rest of the class snickered after looking at Sasuke's hair. Sasuke HNED and turned around to continue his brooding, satisfied his fangirls had returned their attention. Naruto sat down next to Shikamaru and Shino. Morning, Shino. Shika. Shino and Shikamaru looked at Naruto and responded, morning, before going back to their usual quiet selves. Naruto looked around and waited for Iruka to get here for the team placements. He hoped he would not get the Uchiha or any of his fangirls. God, they were annoying. He noticed Hinata's blush and really hoped he would not be on her team either. He would break her heart to make sure she stayed alive, but he did not relish the idea of hurting a woman. It is for the best Naruto-sama she cannot remain the way she is if she is to survive. Kamakazi remarked. Kill or be killed. Kyuubi simply said. While Naruto had been musing, Iruka had entered and started his speech on what it means to be a ninja and all the responsibilities it entails, and he finally came to the team placements. So I wish you luck in your new careers. Now, Team 1 will be. Naruto tuned him out and felt sorry for the ones who were going to fail the next test for Genins. He was sure the Junins were to test them because the academy test did not make a ninja ready for the rigorous life of ninja. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Kiba Inuzuka. Ignoring the cries of "True love prevails" and 2 head smacks against the wood, Iruka continued. Team 8 will be Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's head picked up. Shino Aburame. Naruto nodded at his new teammate and comrade, happy so far. And Hinata Hyuga. Thump. Everyone turned to see Hinata passed out on the floor. Naruto groaned and looked at Shino. Shino seemed amused at the turn of events with a hidden sadness at what Naruto was going to have to do. Shino was one of Naruto's only friends, them being the old man, Chris, Shika, and Shino. Naruto was close to Choji, but he was more of an affiliate than a friend. So he knew what Naruto planned for their new teammate. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi, and Shikamaru Nara. Your Junin senseis will be here shortly. Good luck once again. With that, Iruka exited. Kurenai was walking to go pick up her team when she thought back to the team placements. Author Yami-style flashback no jutsu. The teams will be. They were shocked when they heard Kakashi was not getting who he wanted. It was the first time he had actually requested somebody and he was being turned down. Kurenai was quite happy. The way he talked about Naruto showed he did not care at all. Kakashi spoke up. Why is Kurenai getting him? She did not even request him. The Hokage narrowed his eyes, angry. He had been questioned as to his methods after his earlier outburst. Because she will treat him fairly, not merely as a stepping stone for another. What is your ultimate rule, Kakashi? Kakashi bowed his head in shame when he thought about that and said, Hi Hokage-sama. Kurenai spoke up then. I am happy, however. What does Uzumaki-san bring to a tracker team? The Hokage chuckled. I see none of you read the report I sent out. I had hoped one would notice. He has sense advanced further than a nin dog. This set the Junin ablaze with jealousy at such high sense that they had to train for years to reach. He will be the perfect addition, and Kiba will balance out Team 7 while giving them what they need, a tracker and close combat expert. Naruto will become your ninjutsu expert, and with Hinata's Jukin and Shino's bugs combined with your genjutsu, it is a all-around perfect team setup. After the Hokage's explanation, no one had a comeback for why she should not have him. You are all dismissed. Kurenai, please stay a moment. Kurenai nodded her assent and waited while the others filed out. The Hokage put up a privacy seal and said, Now that no one can hear us, let me hear your opinion of Naruto. Kurenai responded almost immediately. I see no wrong in him, Hokage-sama. His pranks brighten our day, and if he were the fox, why would he do such things? He is simply a misunderstood boy who is yearning for attention and guidance. The Hokage stared at her a full 3 minutes before sighing and saying, I am glad you feel that way. I am aware you are friends with Anbuneko, correct? Kurenai nodded. Please bring her with you when you test your teams. She will not have any missions for a few days. Naruto is much stronger than he appears. He has a sword that I think Neko might find interesting. That mischievous glint back in his eye. The Hokage said, You are dismissed. Kurenai turned around and walked out, wondering about the enigma that is Naruto. Author Tenshi style. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. She continued on her way with Yugo in regular Junin attire next to her, carrying her sword. After explaining to Yugo the Hokage's suggestion, she immediately agreed, happy to see someone so young interested in swordplay. They walked up to the door with the rest of the Junin sensei and proceeded to enter. Naruto watched as the door swung open and in walked 11 people. His eyes widened as he took in the last 4 though. Hatake Kakashi, the copy ninja, son of the White Fang, and so-called prodigy or Konoha. Asuma Sarutobi, son of the Old Man, wielder of trench knives and the only other wind user within Konoha. Part of the 12 ninja guardians who protect the Fire Lord. But it was the final 2 who had him sweating bullets. Murasaki Haim, who he had found out from Chris was Yuga Oizuki, and his own Megami-chan. Kurenai Yuhi. He caught like a deer in the crosshairs. Kyuubi was amused by the predicament. He was not expecting to have both of them here as Junin-sensei. He watched as they scanned the room and waited with bated breath as their eyes passed over him. He had removed his own genjutsu, but his sword's hilt remained hidden. They did not linger on him and he let out a sigh of relief, which quickly turned into curses to the old man, for he was sure to have set this up. Team 8, please follow us, Kurenai said and motioned for them to follow her and Yugo. Damn, now I can't use kamakazi. Do you not think it would be okay? Perhaps she has done as you asked and put it behind her, Kamikaze remarked. Naruto responded, perhaps, but I will still try to refrain from using you if that is okay, Kamikaze. I am not happy, Naruto-sama, but you do it for the right reasons. I will accept this for now, but should you put yourself in danger I will not hesitate to take control of your arm and pull myself. Consequences be damned. Naruto was a little surprised at Kamikaze but accepted nonetheless. He got up with Shino and Hinata and headed out to their senseis. Once they were outside, Kurenai turned and said, meet us at Training Ground 8 in about 20 minutes. And both she and Yugo shunshined away. Naruto made a pointed look at Shino. Keep Hinata busy for the 20 minutes, was the silent message Naruto sent, and Shino nodded as Naruto shunshined to the 2 women to inform them of Hinata's crush and how he was going to break it. Kurenai and Yugo appeared in the training grounds area. It was a all-around training area with some rocky places, a forest, a small waterfall and a meadow. Not 1 minute later Naruto shunshined in as well with a little burst of air. Both Junin were stunned that he could do such a high-level technique already, but hid their surprise well. He turned to them and smiled. Or it appeared he did, and spoke. Unfortunately, we are probably going to get off on the wrong foot. I am about to do something that must be done to allow this team to succeed. Shino is taking care of the preparations, but you must not interfere until I give the signal. The Junin were surprised. Here was a Genin telling them what to do. Kurenai spoke up. What are you going to do? Naruto smiled sadly and said, break a girl's heart. At that moment Hinata walked into the training ground, followed closely by Shino. The Junin were stunned at his declaration and he spoke up saying, well, maybe we should introduce ourselves. That snapped them out of their stupor and they started the introductions. Yes, well, I am Kurenai Yuhi. I like genjutsu, Enko-chan, Yugo-chan, and romance novels. I dislike perverts and that orange book that shall remain nameless. My dream is to be the foremost genjutsu master in the world and to see you get to Junin. Kurenai said, I am Yuga Oizuki. I like kenjutsu, Enko-chan, Kurenai-chan, and mystery novels. My dislikes are the same as Kurenai. And my dream is to become a kenjutsu master and pass it on to my kids. Said Yugo. You will call us Kurenai-sensei and Yugo-sensei. Now Shino, you're up. I am Shino Aburame. I like Naruto, bugs, and learning about different types of bugs. I dislike those who kill bugs for no reason. My dream is to become clan head and help Naruto achieve his. Shino said. I am Hinata Hyuga. I like lavender and. She glanced at Naruto. I dislike perverts and the caged bird seal. My dream is to abolish the caged bird seal and become clan head. Imagine her stuttering. Hinata stuttered out and Kurenai smiled at the shy young girl. Naruto sighed as he caught her glance. I am Naruto Uzumaki. I like foxes, kenjutsu, ninjutsu, and seals. My dislikes are perverts, rapists, and child beaters. My dream for the future is to become the strongest shinobi in the land to protect all my precious peoples. Kurenai blinked and smiled softly at her team. She got a good bunch. Now it was time to test them. But before Kurenai could speak, Naruto beat her to it again. Hinata, if there were another test for Genin to become Genin besides what was taught in the academy, what would it be based on? Shino. After a few seconds, Hinata's eyes widened at her answer and Shino nodded. They said in unison, teamwork. Hee smart kids Kurenai sensei? Kurenai was flabbergasted. He deduced there was another part of the test and completed it all without even being given the test. Who is this kid? Definitely not the dead last of the academy. Now Hinata, what would you say would be the best teamwork a team could come up with? Naruto questioned. This put Kurenai on edge. She knew of Hinata's crush and was hoping Naruto would not crush her. Shino put himself in the way and shook his head at Kurenai, a clear indication not to interfere. Anyo. I am not sure, Naruto-kun. Hinata stuttered again. Naruto steeled himself and said, being able to kill one another. Hinata seemed confused until Naruto took a taijutsu stance that had Yugo gasping. Yugo recognized that style even if it wasn't the true style. It was the fourth style. Where did he get information on that it should be locked up in the Hokage vault? Naruto lunged forward as fast as his seals would allow and started to fight Hinata. He went for a right hook. She blocked and spun away to get some distance and took her stance and hesitantly activated her Byakugan. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? Hinata stuttered. I am breaking you of your naive ways, Hinata, and allowing you to fight to your full potential by killing you. With that, he put his deadly taijutsu to actual work for the first time, accurately dodging her Juken strikes because she would not attack any vitals and delivering debilitating strikes on his own. Kurenai and Yugo watched transfixed and horrified. Naruto was actually hurting his teammate. Nothing too hurtful, but she was clearly going to be hurting in the morning. Finally, after a nasty roundhouse kick, Naruto stood looking down on Hinata. You are weak, Hinata. You allow others to walk all over you and will not fight back. This team will not continue with you as you are. You must be willing to attack and kill. A ninja is destined to kill. It is our lot in life. If you are afraid to take a life, then you do not belong within the shinobi ranks. He then leaned down and cupped her chin and pulled her eyes to his. That is what makes you weak and what makes you strong. Your kindness is rarely found within a human. Draw strength from it. Allow yourself to be kind to those around you. Use that kindness that makes you want to protect someone to kill your nice side within battle, Hinata. You must be able to strike me in the heart with a Juken strike for sparring with me while ignoring my vitals means you will ignore the vitals on a bandit. What happens when that bandit you are fighting turns around and kills me because I trusted you to have my back but you held back, not wanting to kill? Do not relish in killing. Simply do it because you must. Your crush for me is built out of adoration. Adore yourself. Climb to your peak and become the serious kunoichi you are destined to be. Hinata stood with tears in her eyes and said, Hi, Naruto. She would not call him Naruto-kun, not after that. Kurenai was angry that he had been so brutal, but what he said seemed to have worked and Shino lowered his bugs. I am sorry for resorting to such extreme measures, Hinata, but for this to work, I need you to focus. Do not love me. I am incapable of loving you. I will not allow myself to. I have noticed the hatred of my village just as you have, and you know your father would never allow it. Try Kiba. He is a bit of a pervert, but if you make him yours he will be loyal to a fault. Hinata nodded, still crying but with determination shining in her lavender orbs. Satisfied he had accomplished what needed to be done, he walked up to Shino and said, Arigato. Shino punched him in the jaw. Don't ever hit your comrades again and I will consider it thanks enough. Shino was not happy. He went further than he had planned, but he accepted it. His logical side said it was for the best, but he needed to get that out of his system. Hi, Shino. Naruto was not angry. He knew what Shino was thinking. Kurenai just shook her head. It seems she got the crazy bunch. But they will be great, she was sure of that. Already showing a camaraderie that was rarely seen even within Konoha. Alright, since I have seen Hinata's fight and Naruto's taijutsu. Shino, come spar with me. Taijutsu only. I wish to see where you stand. About 40 minutes later. Kurenai was breathing slightly fatigued while Shino was sweating bullets. Stamina was not their strong suit. Enough. Yugo, would you like to test Naruto's blade? Yugo nodded, her eyes shining. Naruto thought. So much for not using you kamakazi. You ready? Hi, Naruto-sama. You have only used me to kill some worthless bandits since those Genins. This will be a true test of your skills progress. Naruto walked to the edge of one training ground and asked, "So what are the rules, Yugo-sensei?" Yugo pondered for a moment. "Kenjutsu only. No jutsu." Naruto raised his eyebrow at the little limitations and said, "Very well, let us begin." He got into his stance, his body completely relaxed, and unsheathed his sword with a slight shing sound mirrored by his opponent. His sword point facing towards the ground. He whispered, "Kai," and released the level 5 resistance seal down to level 3 so he could survive the coming ordeal. He said, "Whenever you are ready, sensei." Yugo took in his stance. It seemed to be full of holes in defense. Obviously an amateur swordsman. She watched him careful. He remained still, only really moving when the wind would blow across the training ground. They stood there for 2 minutes before Yugo moved, dashing across the meadow at low Chunin speeds. Naruto saw her coming a mile away. He had already moved his weapon into the block before she swung. She came from high and stroked down to come across his chest in a arcing pattern. Their blades collided with a resounding clang 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 every attack she tried on him. Every skill was blocked. She decided to step it up. Moving to low Junin speeds, he seemed to be slowing down and managed to block most of the cuts, but he would always avoid the hits. A downward slash blocked. A thrust parried and thrown away. A horizontal slash back stepped and stepped up into her guard. He was showing skills of a Kenjutsu master. Indeed, according to Kamakazi, Naruto has almost completed his own style of wind style. Once mastered, it would be unable to be copied for the erratic movements required, and should someone try to copy without the proper training, it would result in horrible muscle pains and possible tearing. Finally, after 20 minutes of straight Kenjutsu, Yugo stepped back. She was breathing slightly heavy but could see Naruto was only slightly winded, that legendary stamina of his holding out. She admired the blade and could say it seemed familiar. All of a sudden Naruto's eyes turned red and he looked into the trees to his right. "Yugo-sensei. Protect Hinata. Shino, get with Kurenai-sensei." As soon as he shouted, 2 nins came out of the forest. One wearing a scratched headband from Iwa, looking to be a Junin by his attire. The other was wearing a scratched headband from Kumo, looking to be a Chunin. "Well, well, well. Look who we have here. The Genjutsu mistress of Konoha, Kurenai Yuhi. Swords mistress Yugo Uzuki. And some frightened Genin." The Iwa nin scowled. "You killed my brother, you bitch of a mistress." Looking fiercely at Kurenai. "I will bring the Byakugan back to my village and I will be hailed as a hero. Perhaps I will be allowed to father the first of the new Byakugan." He finished with a perverted leer at Hinata, who shrunk back. How the hell did these guys get within the city walls? Naruto thought was he gauged his opponents. Naruto spoke up and said, "Well, you have about 5 minutes before the Anbu get here, so let's get started, nay? I will take a Kumo nin. Yugo-sensei, stay next to Hinata till this is finished. Shino, assist Kurenai in her battle." They all nodded and went to their respective jobs as they faced off. The Chunin sneered. "You think you can take me, little boy? I was fighting battles before you were sucking bottles." Naruto shook his head. "Enough banter, let's get this started." Food and Daitopa, great breakthrough. Blowing out of his mouth, he sent a large wind at the Chunin, who just stuck to the ground and retaliated. Raiden. Kaminari Saji, lightning surge. The lightning spread across the ground, going after Naruto. Naruto jumped back and avoided the attack. He sent another jutsu at him. Food and Renkuden, spiraling fist. The ball of compressed air went flying at the enemy and Naruto came charging right after it with his sword drawn. The enemy nin jumped and dodged the jutsu but came down to Naruto, attempting to slash him on his downward arc. He quickly put his hand guard up and blocked the strike. Starting a fierce close combat fight. Naruto sent another slash his way. The enemy nin, using lightning manipulation, put some electricity in his hands and went to grab the blade, expecting his chakra-enhanced gloves to catch it. He screamed a few seconds later when he noticed how the blade dispelled his lightning and cut right through his hand. "Nice work, Kamakazi. You have advanced well to defeat a Chunin at this point, Naruto-sama." Once he realized the nin was still screaming, he promptly took advantage of the situation and beheaded him. Confident he has dispatched his enemy, he turned around to look at the other fight going on. He cursed in his head and disappeared with a kai and a burst of speed. A few moments earlier, the fight had been going well, with Kurenai stopping the Genin with her genjutsu and Shino sucking him dry of chakra with his bugs, when it all changed. They heard a scream from the other ninja, and their opponent seemed to sense the genjutsu at the same time. He broke the genjutsu and, after spewing a fire dragon jutsu on all the surrounding bugs, proceeded to make hand signs. Kurenai tried to catch him in another genjutsu, but he finished his jutsu right as she did, and it did not catch in time. So now Kurenai and Shino were staring down a fast-moving spike of earth with fire rolling around it, making it seem like a flaming bullet. Kurenai knew she did not have the speed to dodge or pull off a kawarimi, and stood there looking in abject horror at how she was going to die on her first day as a sensei. I wonder what that swordsman is doing now. That's when someone showed up in the path of the bullet holding a sword high. Naruto cursed, as he had wanted to keep this a secret. His crimson aura flowing around him, unknowingly dispelling the demonic genjutsu. He swung his sword down like he did so many years ago and spoke the name of the attack. Kamakazi. It sent the wave cutting through the bullet and saving his sensei and friend, and because of the genjutsu cast by Kurenai slicing the opposing Junin's arm and leg off. He screamed and fell down to his knee. Naruto ignored the three gasps behind him, two from recognition, one from the brutality, and walking over to the enemy, beheaded him as he did his comrade. Sighing once more. Looks like the fox is out of the bag, kid. Though I have to say you have quite the devious mind to account for every interaction but a fight here, Kyuubi said before laying down for a fox nap. He pulled down his face mask. No reason trying to deny it now. Damn you, old man, I am sure you set this up. He turned around to face the music. Kurenai couldn't believe it. Here was the swordsman who had saved her so many years ago, living right under her nose. It was the pariah of the village. Then another thought occurred to her. The Hokage lied to her. He knew he was here and told her otherwise. Oh, she was pissed. Yugo was transfixed on the blade. It had appeared in her dreams a few nights in the past year. She would always wonder who it was who could prank Anbu with a sword. She had suspected Naruto, but he never had a sword with him, so she could never verify it. That swirl and that attack, such grace and definition. Oh, she had to know more. Hinata and Shino were just in awe of the attack and seeing their teammate kill two higher-ranking ninja. Hinata was wondering if she could get as powerful. Shino was wondering if he had always been this powerful and if this was the reason for his bug's skittishness. Naruto turned around and Kurenai and Yugo gasped yet again at the red eyes shown by their young charge. Hello again, Megami-chan. Murasaki-heim. Been a while, has it not? Naruto spoke, having a deeper voice than normal with his battle mode activated. Whenever Naruto had activated this state before, he would gain speed and strength as well as better eyesight. After contacting Kyuubi, he asked if it was its chakra he was tapping into, but Kyuubi said it wasn't, so he just chalked it up to a bloodline or something, since he could not accurately account for another power source. Shino and Hinata were a little confused as to the names until they saw the looks of shock on their sensei's face. Naruto, I believe an explanation is in order. Shino staked to Naruto's side and said, Hi. Follow me. We will go to the Hokage's office. What I have to say should not be heard by the wrong ears. All of them just nodded as Naruto deactivated his battle mode and his features returned to normal. He sheathed kamakazi and they all shunshined to the Hokage's office. Hokage's office. Naruto and his team shunshined into the office and Naruto glared at the Hokage. I know you had something to do with this, you old geezer. Damn it, I had a reason for that request. The Hokage blinked and then took in the state of the team and said, What happened? Yes, I put you with Yugo and Kurenai, but nothing else should have happened. After explaining the stuff on the team training ground and handing in the two heads which gained them a C rank and a rank missing nin bounty, the Hokage shook his head. I had hoped you would have built a little bit of your relationship before having to discard with your pretenses, though I think this will be good for you. Kurenai spoke up before anyone else though and asked, Why did you lie to me about him, Hokage-sama? Me too. Yugo pitched in. The Hokage turned his eyes to Naruto with a questioning glance. Naruto sighed and scratched his head. Because I told him to. Kurenai turned a hurtful gaze on him and Yugo was just shocked he wouldn't want recognition for what he had done. I suppose I should start at the beginning. Let's get some food and get comfortable. This is going to be a long story. Are you going to tell them everything, Naruto-sama? Kamakazi spoke up. Hi, if it is okay with you. I must trust these people and they have proven trustworthy so far. Just be careful mentioning you can speak with me. These people, even the Hokage, are fearful of what they don't understand. Kyuubi informed. I will leave out talking to you and just say I met you and you threw me out the mindscape. Keeps with your demon persona, right? He said with a little bit of sarcasm and returned his attention to the people sitting around the Hokage's office with some food on the table. Sighing one last time he began his tale. Gigi put up a silencing barrier. Please, after pausing for the glow of the barrier. It all started on my 7th birthday. Then I passed the exam and am now assigned to your team. Should you not wish to work with me anymore, I will understand. The Hokage waited in bated silence to see what his teammates would do. Shino spoke up rather fast and said, So you are hated for what you carry as well. It makes no difference what you hold. You have saved the village every day you draw breath. You will always be my first and best friend. Having said that, he bumped fists with Naruto and he waited patiently for Hinata's decision. Hinata finally spoke up after about 2 minutes of silence. Naruto, that is a lot to take in. Though it is amazing what happened to you when you were younger. I would be proud to call such a brave person as you as my friend. Surprising even herself by not stuttering. Naruto laughed, happy for his first few friends' acceptance, and said, Well, Hinata, it seems my lesson is working rather fast. He turned to the 2 elder women within the room and his eyes saddened for having hurt them. They had been looking for him but he was trying to save them pain. Gomen Megami-chan Murasaki-hime. I had tried to hide from you in an attempt to keep you from pain, but it seems all I did was compound on it. Yugo spoke up. Damn right, you little blonde swordsman. Well, we will have to have an all-out kenjutsu battle to the end of time to figure out whether I should forgive you. She turned away from him with a small smile on her face. Kurenai was still trying to digest everything he had said. Well, I guess I could forgive you, but can we talk after this? Naruto nodded and said that he would take her to his apartment later. The Hokage then spoke up. So Naruto, you did not think it prudent to tell me you had a sentient sword? Naruto smiled sheepishly. That you had also taken the book of seals written by the Yondaime. That you had made contact with the Kyuubi. Naruto flinched at each accusation but turned to his Hokage and said, I was not a ninja at the time and I was not required to inform you. I needed an edge should the civilian council find a way to go around you, Gigi. I am sorry. He hung his head. The Hokage sighed. All of that is true, and stealing the Book of Seals is a serious offense. However, I think we can overlook it in light of recent events. Good job, Naruto, in protecting your team from those missing nins. I would like to see your taijutsu, and if I can I will get you the actual hummingbird style, since you are obviously the only person within the village who can use it. Naruto's eyes lit up and he said, Hi Ji-san. Naruto paused, remembering something. So Ji-san, my seal is ready to be sold, correct? Hi Naruto. Good, Kurenai-sensei. Yugo-sensei. Hinata, come here a moment. Naruto reached into his pouch and took out 15 anti-rape seals. Kurenai-sensei, after hearing your account of how you were almost raped 3 times in a single day and looking over the seals of the Yondaime, I decided to make what I call an anti-rape seal. I had made my sexy jutsu off of it, but no one knows the true purpose of that jutsu. It is an actual transformation. All of the women were hanging off his words at this point. This seal I have created, tested, and perfected will be sold in Konoha soon, but I want you 3 to have 5 each. He handed them to them, and after explaining how they worked, Kurenai and Yugo immediately slapped theirs on their necks under their hair. I ask you keep this a secret so people do not come banging on my door. I just finished this recently and I will get it in stores as fast as possible. They all nodded, amazed at such a thing. I believe that is it for today, and judging by the sun it has been a long day. We should all head home. Be at the training ground tomorrow at 8 a.m. You all passed? Kurenai said. All of them nodded and the Hokage disengaged the privacy seals. Yugo gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek for the anti-rape seal and headed off home with a spring in her step. Kurenai chuckled at Naruto's stunned face. Shino and Hinata headed off to the clan district while Naruto walked to the ninja district. Naruto led Kurenai to his apartment and they entered. Naruto asked, "Would you like something to drink?" Kurenai nodded to his offer and took a seat on the sofa. She liked how his living room was set with a few pictures here and there. Could use a woman's touch, but it was homey enough. Naruto set the drinks down and wondered what it was she wanted to talk about. "So, was that everything from when you saved me to now?" Kurenai asked. "Hi, though I might have changed my words around from in front of Hinata." Naruto answered. "Oh really? How so?" Kurenai teased. "I believe the exact words I used were, 'A beautiful woman such as Kurenai does not need to have such hate throw on her.'" Kurenai blushed at his compassion even from such a young age. "You know I wasn't searching to thank you. Not many people would do what you did. Many would have killed the others just to take me for themselves. Or would have left me there without risking their own necks." Naruto nodded and responded, "What did Ji-san tell you I said when I saved you?" Kurenai thought for a moment before it dawned on her. That rapists were the worst beings aside from child beaters. Naruto nodded again. Kurenai thought to herself a little bit. He is so young yet he acts so mature. What must he have gone through at the villagers' hands? He is so compassionate it rolls off him in waves. Even with the fox's presence he is not tainted. Naruto spoke up. "I act mature for my age, yes. I noticed you pondering that. Let me say that my childhood was one that necessitated me be very careful. As such I have read many things and learned as much as I can to survive. Some things I know nothing of compared to others. I only hope what I know is enough to keep me afloat." Kurenai was struck by his words yet again and decided to call it a night before her mind took her to a place she was pretty sure it would lead to eventually anyways. So she bid Naruto good night and stood up to leave. As she was leaving she leaned in and gave him a kiss on the cheek opposite Yugo. "Thank you, my little blonde swordsman." Naruto stood there stunned for a second before replying. "Good night, Megami-chan." Naruto closed his door when Kurenai was out of sight and they both went to bed thinking of each other and what the future might hold. It had been almost 2 months since the formation of Team 8 and the revealing of Naruto's secrets to his teammates. They had been doing more D ranks than the other teams because they were already perfectly situated into their roles. They even took the D ranks as a training exercise and as a result finished them much faster than should be possible. Naruto would do extra D ranks so they would have them on the record. They would only take the hardest ones and leave stuff like painting fences to the KBs. Kage Bunshin. He would give the extra money to his teammates since his anti-rape seal had literally been sold out since it hit the shelves. His identity behind the seal had been a closely guarded secret. Only the Sandame and his team knew it was Naruto. Yugo also, but he considered Yugo part of his team. She would always come by when she had time. None of the females around Naruto paid for the seals since he gave them another batch when he finished them. He was planning on buying himself a plot of land and building a house when he got the money he wanted. There was tension building within the team though. Shino and Hinata were the best comrades Naruto could ask for. He worked on a seal for Shino's stamina and Hinata's chakra capacity. He managed to finish them easily and put them on his teammates. Shino could now last in a fight against Hinata and Hinata's chakra capacity shot up from Genin to almost low Junin. The tension however was between Naruto and Kurenai. Especially when Yugo would visit. Shino observed this and saw that Naruto knew about it, but he assumed Naruto had a plan because Naruto did not seem clueless as to what to do. He would somehow be able to break the tension until the next meeting. Shino knew however. There was going to be a breaking point and it was fast approaching. Hinata was too focused on regaining her skills from being too nice and could feel the tension just did not pinpoint the course. Hinata had reformed rather quickly after Naruto's killing of her. She started showing more confidence within the spars and managed to land a few hits on Naruto, surprising Naruto himself. She beat Hanabi, her younger sister, in a clan spar and managed to fight longer against Neji, the branch house prodigy, surprising the clan elders and bringing her father's notice to her. Her father had been so hard on her hoping to push her, but it resulted in the opposite effect until Naruto broke her. She had not seen Kiba yet but resolved to herself to at least give the boy a chance. He had been chasing her for years and he deserved it. Fox in position. Angel in position. Kikai in position. Team 8 commence capture. Naruto burst out of the foliage, sending a very light gust through the clearing, leading the target to the left of the clearing until a wall of Kakaichu bugs sprung up. The target turned around and looked at its attackers. Hinata and Shino appeared near Naruto. The target looked at them, then jumped at Naruto. Naruto caught Tora easily and the cat started cuddling up to him, purring. Capture confirmed. Ribbon states it is Tora. Naruto said through his radio. This was the 12th time in the last week they had caught Tora. She seemed to like Naruto, so they always took it when they could. Good work everyone, let's head back to the tower. Kurenai replied over the radio. The team walked through Konoha with smiles on their faces. They were content with their usual routine. They would meet early in the morning and train. As soon as the Hokage's tower would open, they would go grab their missions for the day. Do the missions till lunch and then finish up the missions. Teamwork exercises and finish the day off with some good old spars. Each of them could do the water walking exercise, and Naruto was working on Senbon balancing while incorporating Kunai balancing into his other known exercises to his KBs. At this point Naruto had about Chunin level chakra control. He was shooting for Junin level, for him. In which case he would be able to outlast Jiraiya in his Sage mode in pure terms of chakra. This was the only downside to his massive chakra. It was so damn hard to control. Naruto smiled. Upon seeing the glares of the populace, slowly lost its way until he schooled his expression into neutrality. They still could not track his home down, but the glares did enough damage without him having to find his house. Kurenai frowned seeing Naruto's mask and started glaring at the villagers. How dare they glare at him? He is putting his life on the line as a shinobi. Not to even mention holding back Kyuubi. She was planning out all these evil genjutsus and smirked. Kurenai-sensei. Naruto said. Huh? What is it, Naruto-kun? Naruto's eyebrow raised at the new honorific. She had never really called him that. He dismissed it and said, I had been telling you we are here now and your smirk is scaring everyone. She looked around and did indeed see how most of the men were straying far away from her. She smirked again. He must have picked up some things from Naruto. Naruto unwittingly thought. Damn. She has picked some stuff up from me. Let's head inside, sensei. With that they all entered the tower. There was a catchboard for the Catch the Tora mission. The cat had been tormenting Genin since the start of the Sandame's rule, and the leaderboard had been put up after the Sannin managed to catch her in 2 hours. To this day only one team had managed to beat that record. The top 10 catches were all under 2 hours. As a matter of fact, some of them was under 10 minutes. Naruto had set up places to meet Tora so he could pet her when she was out. As such he had a little bit of a schedule he could follow to catch her. All of the top 10 catches had been made by Naruto's team. They walked into the Hokage's office and Naruto immediately relinquished hold of Tora to the fire daimyo's wife. She is going to kill that cat. Naruto thought. The Hokage sighed and said, Good work Team 8, now for the next mission. A light bulb seemed to light up above Naruto's head. Kurenai noticed the light in Naruto's eyes, tried to stop him. No Naru, excuse me miss. Naruto shouted. You're hurting her. The fire daimyo's wife turned to find Naruto pointing at Tora. She raised an eyebrow and said, I think I know how to handle my pets. Naruto scowled and said, Oh yeah? Put Tora down and let's see who she goes to. If she comes to me, you let me show you how she likes to be petted. If you win, I will catch your cat for free for the rest of the month. The fire daimyo's wife smirked. Okay. Kurenai-sensei, could you please take Tora and put her in the middle of the room? Kurenai and the Hokage sighed. Hi. Kurenai placed Tora in the middle of the room and the fire daimyo's wife immediately said, Tora, come here and there is some fish in it for you. Tora looked her owner and took a step. Naruto spoke up, Tora-chan here girl. Making sounds with his teeth. Tora immediately turned around and leapt into the Genin's arms. The fire daimyo was stunned. Like this, ma'am. Naruto showed the fire daimyo's wife. Gently petting Tora's head and scratching her ears, making her purr. Now you try. The fire daimyo almost crushed Tora when Naruto held her arm. Softly. He led the fire daimyo's wife's hand gently down Tora's spine and Tora started purring. Amazing. The entire room minus Naruto said. Naruto smirked and said, if you treat Tora like that I doubt she will run again. Thank you, Mr. Naruto chuckled. I am Uzumaki Naruto, ma'am. Please treat Tora nicely. As much as I love petting her, she needs a good home. The fire daimyo's wife nodded and made a note to tell the Fire Lord about this Genin. The Hokage chuckled seeing Naruto's legendary politician skills at work. He would be a force to rival in a few years. If that is all, ma'am, I believe Team 8 has earned the rest of the day off. Dismissed. The Hokage said. Everyone filed out of the office. Outside. So should we do teamwork exercises or? Naruto started. I have a clan mission that is starting and I will be gone for a few days. Shino said while he walked to his compound. Anyo. Father wants to train me in some advanced moves, so I must get going. Gomen na Naruto. With that, Hinata walked off. Just like that, the tension was in the air again. Well, Kurenai-sensei, seems we are being left to fend for ourselves. What would you like to do? Kurenai thought about it for a while. I think I am going to go meet Enko for lunch, then relax the rest of the day. What about you, Naruto-kun? Naruto again quirked an eyebrow at the honorific. Nato responded while thinking. It's now or never. I was considering asking you to join me for dinner. Kurenai was taken aback. Really, now what would the occasion be for? Kurenai's mind immediately went to the place she tried so hard over the past 2 months to avoid. A date? She immediately slapped herself in her head, but the words were already out. If you don't mind going on a date with someone as young as me, I most certainly would welcome you as my date. Naruto said. Naruto hated to throw such a point into the conversation, but it must be clear before they start anything that could lead to disaster areas for Naruto's mind. If he allows himself to connect to someone but they would never allow it past a certain point. Well, Naruto has so little friends it becomes devastating to lose even one. Kurenai blinked and replied almost without thinking. A man's age has nothing to do with his maturity, Naruto-kun. You are much more mature than most of the men in this village. Naruto took the compliment and said. Then shall I pick you up at 7 o'clock? Kurenai nodded her head and took her leave, heading for Enko, eager to share her news with Naruto. He headed home thinking to Kyuubi and Kamakazi. That was unexpected. But welcome. Kamakazi chimed in. All I know is Kit, you need some clothes for tonight. This Enbu stuff isn't cutting it. Kyuubi informed her container. Naruto nodded his assent to the demon. He had arrived at his house and decided to tidy up his small apartment. He set about to work and let his mind wander as he did the menial chores that allowed him to work his finger muscles. Over the past month he could feel the sexual tension between himself and Kurenai. It was part of the reason he did not want his identity revealed, but he could not say he was not enjoying the attention. He had been attracted to the woman even when he was young. He was by no means a pervert, but for some reason he had noticed her even at his young age and pegged her as someone he wanted to know more about. He had thought about her over the years and kept an eye on her, helping her out with little notes for genjutsu ideas. Though she didn't know that. He knew that now that she knew about him. He was falling for her. Thought there were 2 things that held him back. One was the age difference. He was not sure she would be able to hold a relationship with someone 7 years younger than her. Another was Yugo. He knew he held feelings for the purple-haired Anbu as well. This confused him as he was sure that he should only be able to love one of them. Yugo had inadvertently led to the creation of his inner pervert a year ago when he had been flashed. She still did not know this, but he had dreams of her and Kurenai doing things with him he knew 13-year-olds shouldn't be keen on doing. Yes, there were 13-year-olds who did that, but they were perverts, right? And wanting more than one girl, did that not make him perverse? He could not ask the girls these questions and he hesitated to ask Kurisu. He felt it would not be proper to discuss this with others, therefore kept it squashed down where only Kamakazi was able to see it occasionally when it would flash across his mind in training. Kamakazi knew that it was natural but did not want to encourage him. He decided to let his user figure it out on his own and he would help where he could. Trying to explain it to someone like Naruto might only exacerbate it. Naruto, though, for the life of him he could not seem to figure out why he could not have both of them. It was supposed to feel wrong to love multiple women. It showed in society how men were only allowed one woman to become their wife. Naruto was sure that because of this you were only supposed to love one woman. He had more interaction with Kurenai, so he decided to go on a date with her since she brought it up. But he was feeling a little guilty at not taking Yugo out as well. Still musing over why he could not have multiple loves. He missed the thoughtful expression and slight muttering of the Kyuubi as Naruto continued his cleaning. With Kurenai. I can't believe I actually asked him that. She was still in a bit of shock over the fact she just asked out a boy who was 7 years her junior. She could not deny her feelings about the boy. Ever since he had been shown as the swordsman who saved her all those years ago, and that he remained so pure even now was utterly astonishing. His childhood had been horrible. He had not explained much before he got his sword, but just the parts that he did made Kurenai cringe. He asked so mature she felt as if she was talking to her father again. She was walking to the dango shop she was sure Anko was going to be at and continued her musings. He was kind, courageous, cute, powerful. And definitely not a pervert, because she had yet to see him trying to sneak a peek at her or Hinata during practice. Basically everything she wanted in a man was packed into that little man 7 years her junior. The things he could do with seals were amazing. He managed to bring her stamina up so high that she could actually outlast Kakashi. That had always been her weakest point, and now she could stand long fights. When she first realized she was falling for the blonde after giving him that little kiss on the night she had been assigned him as a genin, she tried to stop her mind from going there, but as she spent time around him and noticed how his aura radiated peace and security, she began to grow more and more attracted to him. She noticed how Yugo was hanging around him too. That did not sit well with her for some reason. Now she stopped denying herself and actually took that step to see what would happen if she went further. She felt a little sorry for Yugo. She had been as deprived of love as she had because of all the perverts honing in on her as well, and decided that she would help Yugo find a guy if things worked out with Naruto tonight. With Yugo. She could not get that little man out of her head. Damn it, she growled in her head. Why is it all the guys her age have to be perverts? There was that Hayate guy, but ever since she met Naruto he was all she could think about. His aura of peace yet deadliness was only exuded by the strongest of shinobi. He could bring you at ease with his very presence. The fact he had one kick-ass sword that he could talk to did not have any indication as to why she had initially taken an interest in him. She could feel the power rolling off him when she saw him that night in the Anbu headquarters. She could feel the skill he held hidden when he sunshined onto the training ground the day she had helped Kurenai. She tried as hard as she could to keep herself from him, but it only seemed to push her along faster. She knew she fell for the blonde. When she kissed him on the cheek she had known, but she tried to deny it. Tried as hard as she could to say someone 8 years younger could never want to be with someone like her, but her mind would not accept it. So she spent some time away from him that first week doing Anbu missions, but as soon as she got back she felt compelled to seek him out. So she had, and as soon as she walked into his presence she was at peace. More calm than she had ever felt before. His aura was just so damn comforting. Like a blanket that just dulled your senses. She was a little annoyed that Kurenai got to spend so much time with him. She almost wished she were his sensei just to spend some time with him. She had finally worked up the courage to make it seem like a casual date. The next time she saw him she was gonna ask him out. If things worked out with Naruto she was going to have to help Kurenai in finding another decent guy. She felt a little bad taking Kurenai's swordsman away, but he was too much of a catch for anyone to let go. Besides, with his life the sooner he gets some love and the more he gets the better. Dango shop. Anko was eating her dango peacefully when Yugo walked up and joined her. Come wonder what's got her in such a good mood. Shrugging it off as she didn't care and continued to eat her blessed dango. A few minutes later Kurenai walked up in a similarly good mood. Wow, they are both in a good mood. Something must have happened. Deciding to get the news. She was a professional interrogator. So what happened that got you girls in such high spirits? Yugo and Kurenai both shared wistful sighs as if they were little girls thinking of a fond crush, and Anko smirked. Oh, this is gonna be good, must be about that blonde Gaki. Kurenai and Yugo had informed Anko of all that had happened with Naruto. They felt that since she had been helping them out the most with their search that they owed her that much. She had almost blew a gasket at how horrible the villagers had been, but calmed down when Yugo and Kurenai told her that no one was to know, so the council could not try to hurt Naruto. Anko had yet to meet the boy, but she swore if he hurt either of her friends some heads were going to roll. Yugo and Kurenai looked at each other before turning away with guilty expressions. Yep. Definitely about the blonde Gaki. Okay, spill. The only reason for you two to act that this is that little blonde-headed man that somehow lives in your apartment complex. Yugo and Kurenai shared a look and Kurenai nodded to show Yugo should go first. Yugo steeled herself and started her story. She spoke of how she had come to love the blonde little swordsman, how she was initially attracted to his aura, and after spending some time with him she began to see him as something more even though it had only been 2 months. She tried to deny her feelings but it didn't work, and he had opened up quite a bit with her and she was planning on asking him out for a date tonight. So there you have it. Sorry Kurenai, but I really do like the guy, probably even love him. Yugo ended. Anko motioned for Kurenai to speak her piece. Kurenai started her side as well, starting how she just wanted to know more about the blonde swordsman who saved her life not once but twice. She got him to explain his reasoning behind his actions and came to show his compassionate side. She mimicked Yugo in saying his aura calmed her down to the point she almost didn't even have her guard up when she was around him for extended periods. Finally how she tried to deny herself, but he asked her to dinner as friends and she sort of pushed for something more. Sorry Yugo, but I have the date with him tonight and I am going to take it. He is too good to pass up. Yugo's face fell. I want to try to help you find a good person for you too though. Kurenai said, though she realized Yugo would probably not want her help, not after this. Anko watched all this with a passive face and felt for her purple-haired comrade. There were very few good people within Konoha. Even less decent males around, and with her getting older the pickings were slim, especially because of her Anbu career. It was amazing that they had found this diamond in the rough. Now most thought Anko was a sex fiend that was just a mask to hide her true nature of being scared of others trying to take advantage of her because of her past. So using this mask she actually had a light bulb go off in her head, and before Yugo could make a hasty exit spoke up. Why don't you just share him? Anko spoke her ingenious idea. What? Both Yugo and Kurenai all but shouted. They immediately calmed down when most of the store stared at them. Kurenai spoke up first. Why would we share him? He is not some prize for us to have. Yugo then spoke up. Yeah. Besides, what if he didn't like me? He did ask Kurenai out first. Anko sighed. Getting through to these numbskulls will take some maneuvering. First off, I never said he was a prize, he is a person, but with the shit he has been through, don't you think he deserves a little extra lovin'? Second, he opened up to you, Yugo. According to Kurenai here, he has not told as much as he told to you to anybody but Kurenai. What other proof do you need? He has had a life more horrible than mine, and if I had 2 beautiful women say they both want to date me, I would most definitely jump at it. Anko sat back and watched her friend's emotions. There were 2 ways this could end. Both happy and satisfied. Literally, that demonic stamina would be put to good use with these girls. Or one heartbroken and the other happy. She hoped it was the former. Yugo thought about it from Anko's suggestion. Does he love me? She asked herself first. If he didn't, then this was a moot point, but if he loved her and Kurenai, then well, it was a win-win in her case. She was great friends with Kurenai. She could tolerate having to share with her best friend. In fact, it might even prove fun. She had always enjoyed Kurenai's company. She had a sharp wit that showed itself around her friends. They enjoyed many of the same things. She had come to the decision she could share with Kurenai. After all, she had promised to help her find a guy too, and she loved Kurenai almost like a sister. If this provided them both happiness, then it was fine with her. Kurenai was thinking at the same time as Yugo. He likes me. I know that, but does he like Yugo too? She thought about it for a moment and decided that Naruto had to at least like her as a friend, if nothing else, with all he had told her. Then came the ultimate question. Can I share him? It was true what Anko said about his life. He had led an awful life. She was sure she could provide a loving, caring environment to his life. She loved Yugo like a sister. They both wanted the same guy and enjoyed many of the same views. She decided Anko was right, sharing would bring happiness to all of the people. Naruto most of all who deserved it. She turned to Yugo. Anko watched as they finished their internal debates and turned to each other. I don't mind if you want to try to share him, Yugo, Kurenai said. Yugo teared up with happiness and hugged her sister in all but blood. Thank you. Well, I think we should get ready for tonight, Kurenai blinked. She had almost forgotten her date tonight. You want to break it to him tonight? Hi. I don't get much time off from Anbu, but the Sandame has said he wants me to spend some more time with your team, so I will be getting a little more vacation time within the city. Kurenai nodded and said, well, we need to go pick out what we want so we can rock him tonight. Anko finally spoke up. I am happy for you too, just don't break him. He is going to be naive in some points, try to be a bit more understanding and don't blow up at him. I heard he had a pink banshee from his last year at the academy and he hated her for it. The trio stood up and after paying for their meal exited the store. They walked for a little bit before getting ready to separate, and right before they did they ran into Naruto, who looked a little tired from what smelled like cleaning supplies. Kurenai and Yugo both waved and said, hello Naruto-kun. Naruto looked up from his trek and smiled, hello Kurenai-chan. Yugo-chan. Anko-chan. Anko looked confused before saying, how do you know about me? Naruto answered, Yugo-kan and Kurenai-chan always talk about you. I hear you have had a rough life. I was on my way to get some formal clothes done since all I have is training clothes. Would you ladies accompany me? I have something I want to show you. Anko immediately threw a kunai at Naruto, but Naruto saw her action and immediately plucked the kunai out the air and turned around, handing it back to her with the handle pointing at her as she shunshined behind him. Do not attack me. I just might kill you, he said while staring at her with red eyes. I believe this is yours, he said, returning to his previous persona. Kurenai and Yugo just stood there chuckling at Anko's gobsmacked expression. They had warned her and had been worried when she threw the kunai, but Naruto's actions were funny. Anko finally grinned before reaching down and plucking the kunai from his hand and whispered in his ear, you hurt my sisters and I will castrate you. Naruto simply nodded and whispered back, I would kill myself before allowing me to harm them. Anko looked in his blue eyes and nodded before turning to Yugo and Kurenai. Let's go then. Naruto led them to Kurisu's shop. He stopped in front of it, but the three kunoichi looked around and said, what are we looking for? Extend your senses a bit. Naruto replied. Each of them looked at the store and muttered, Genjutsu. Naruto nodded and led them inside. He greeted his brother. Ohayo Kurisu ni-san. Ohayo Oto-Uto. Kurisu answered back. All three kunoichi now had their mouths on the floor. Here was the legendary Kurisu and his shop, and Naruto called him ni-san. Kurisu chuckled. Please pick your mouths off the floor. They promptly shut their mouths and Naruto said, Ni-san, this is Megami-chan, Murasaki-heim, and Hubby-heim, pointing to Kurenai, Yugo, and Anko respectively, earning blushes from the first two and a glare from the last. Using his names for them so Kurisu could get a feel for them. He was particularly interested in Anko. He had heard of her treatment within the village and was interested in who she was. He could not stand for bigots who attack their own defenders. Ohayo everyone. Pleasure to finally meet you. I have heard so much from little Naruto here. Especially you, Miss Anko. Anko growled and putting on her mask said, yeah, what did the little bugger tell ya about how good I am with a snake? Kurisu took her bad temper in stride and said, no, he actually told me you were a beautiful woman who was looked down upon for no fault of your own. Anko's eyes widened before looking at Naruto, who smiled sadly. Anko-chan, I want you to promise me something. Anko asked, what? That you will go on a date with Kurisu tonight. Anko growled, why would I do that? Naruto said, because if you do I will remove your curse seal. Anko immediately tried to catch Naruto, but he had removed his seals before saying it and avoided her. Damn it, you Gaki, get here and remove this seal. You better respect me. Naruto's eyes turned red. Respect is earned, not given. Even the Hokage had to earn my respect. Don't expect me to somehow respect you just because of your position. I had said I would remove the seal for little, but I don't think I should now with your little outburst. It took me years of studying to reach the level 1 emit and many months to devise a counter seal for your particular seal. Enko was stunned. The Gaki growled at her, but not only that, Yugo and Kurenai were shaking their heads. I will give you one last chance. Kurisu is a fine man, he simply wants to know you better. I only had that stipulation because he will never ask you out and I know you two would work together. Enko considered it for all of 5 seconds and said, fine. Naruto nodded his head. If you don't keep your promise you will wish you had kept this compared to what I will do to you. He quickly pulled out a piece of paper and walked to Enko. Naruto slapped the paper on Enko's neck and yelled, Fuin Kai. After a brief moment in which markings spread all over Enko's body, she blinked and everyone saw a wisp of something that looked like a soul's head screaming in agony before disappearing. Now enjoy your night, that is what I wanted to show you. Be ready to be picked up at 7 Yane. With that, Naruto shoved them out the door and into the street. Naruto sighed and said, let's get to work. Kurisu, you need an outfit too. Kurisu sighed. Since you went through the trouble I will go. The girls went their separate ways to get ready for their respective dates. That night 7 o'clock Naruto rang the doorbell at Kurenai's apartment. Curiously enough, Kurenai, Naruto and Yugo were the only ones within this whole apartment. Kurenai's voice came from within the apartment, come in. Naruto walked into the apartment and noticed it was sparsely furnished, but the predominant theme was a red color set almost matching her eyes. She had a sofa and a TV. A few pictures of past times, but otherwise a plain apartment. He heard someone moving from the hallway and stood near the door, so when she came around the corner he could get a decent look at her. Kurenai came around the corner and his jaw dropped. She was wearing a red dress that reached down to her ankles. It stretched from right below her breasts to her ankles in a full wraparound. However, it was backless on the top with the straps holding her breasts to her body. He managed to pick his jaw off the ground just to have it drop again as Yugo walked into the room. She was wearing a golden dress with a back that supported her breasts quite nicely that ended about mid-thigh. He looked between the two women trying to figure out why both of them were here. Yugo and Kurenai were licking their lips and thinking, jackpot. Naruto had gotten a kimono made for himself. It was black with crimson crescents on it. It showed very little of his body, but with his hair tidied up and combed, even with its spiky appearance, he was showing every bit of the correct atmosphere. Finally noticing his questioning glance, Kurenai spoke up. Take a seat, Naruto, we wish to discuss something with you before this date. Naruto looked like a deer caught in the headlights when she spoke, and she was a little pleased they had guessed right. Naruto sat on the sofa while they sat on either side. Now Naruto. Yugo spoke up. We already know you like Kurenai, but what about me? Naruto flushed a little before responding. You are amazing as well, Murasaki-hime. I really don't think I could live without both of you. Both of them flashed a smile before leaning in. That's good, Naruto. Started Kurenai. Because we decided we would share you. Yugo finished as they each took a kiss on the lips. Naruto was stunned for a few seconds before recovering. Huh? I thought it was against the law for that. The women sighed. We don't care about being married. Naruto, although it would be nice, it is not necessary. We are ninja, our lives are short compared to others. Whether we share the same name or not makes no difference to us. Naruto looked contemplative for a moment before responding. So you both are going to be my girlfriends? A slight hope in his voice. Both of them chuckled before saying in unison, hi. They giggled again. Naruto sighed happily before turning to both of them and saying, I am glad for you solving my internal dilemma. I have been struggling recently to express that I like both of you. Now I am glad you both like me too. He kissed them both again before standing. Now I believe you two ladies are in need of a date. He took Kurenai on his right arm and Yugo on his left, and they left Kurenai's apartment. He started walking around the city. He led them to the rich sector of the city. They stopped in front of the Leaf Dragon, the highest place in town. It had sprung up a few years ago and immediately became the place for clan heads and the council to eat at. Naruto walked up to the door and ignored the muttering of the crowd. Naruto-kun, are you sure this is the place? Yugo asked, not sure about it. Naruto chuckled as they looked at the bouncer and said, Hi Yugo-chan, now may we pass Sukune? Sukune. The bouncer looked at Naruto for a second and then bowed, letting them through. Yugo and Kurenai were stunned. Naruto walked right up to the matard and said, "Table for 3 Uzumaki." The matard looked up and scowled. "Get out of here, boy, before I call the police and have you arrested for trespassing." Naruto looked at the man and said, "How long have you been working here?" The man seemed surprised before responding. "This is my 3rd week here." "Ah, that would explain it. Please call the manager." The matard did as was told, sure the demon was going to be thrown out. "Naruto-kun, let's just go somewhere where there aren't any stuck-up pricks," Kurenai said. Now, Megami-chan, this is all gonna be resolved in a moment." As Naruto spoke, the manager walked up and upon noticing Naruto looked at the matard scowling. He immediately went up to Naruto and bowed. "My apologies, Naruto Dono. Please allow me to take you to your seat." Both the girls and the matard were stunned. He just addressed him as if he were a visiting dignitary. "Don't worry about it, Takeshi-san, simply make sure your matards are more hospitable next time." With that they walked off to the table. As he sat after the girls had gotten settled on the balcony scene overlooking the entire city, he spoke up. "A few years ago, while I was still training, I began to sneak out and kill bandit camps for some experience." The waiter took their drink orders and entrees and went to place the order. "While I was out there, I came across a woman trapped in a cage being held hostage by about 50 bandits. I made my plan, and when most of them slept, I killed them to release the captives. Noticing the woman I saw earlier, she stopped and asked my name. I responded, and a few years later I am walking down the street when that same woman walks up to me. At this point their drinks are there and they are munching on snacks. She introduces herself and says that she wants to thank me for my contribution to her store. She took all the money the bandits had and made a restaurant. Can you guess who this is?" Kurenai and Yugo were stunned for the 5th time tonight. "He saved the owner of the most popular restaurant in Konoha? So I gained instant access here and a reserved table for whenever I want to come with free food, though I pay because of the investment. My payout stays with the restaurant and more than covers my food costs." They had finished eating and were just enjoying each other's presence, making small talk. They turned to the city view and they each sat on the edge of the roof, Naruto in between the two girls. Naruto had an idea on how to end the day. "How would you girls like to see where I go just to think or get away?" Yugo and Kurenai both nodded. Naruto shunshined them all to the 4th's head and sat down. Kurenai laid on his right and Yugo on his left. He stroked their hair as they all watched the sunset from the mountaintop. They did not keep track of time until all of a sudden Naruto said, "Fuck. Goddamn villagers." Both Yugo and Kurenai were worried. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun?" they asked. Naruto quickly said, "Girls, do you have anything hidden within your rooms under a strong genjutsu or in a safe?" Both shook a negative and Naruto sighed. "I regret to inform you that our apartments have burned down. The villagers finally found out where I live and burned it down about 5 minutes ago. I just got a KB memory of it." Both Yugo and Kurenai were in tears, thinking they lost everything. "The KBs I had in my apartment saved all of your belongings and brought them somewhere safe. That's why I asked if you had anything hidden. I apologize for going through your drawers, but it was necessary." He hung his head ashamed, until he felt both their lips pressing against his. "Thanks," they both said. Naruto coughed and cleared his throat. "Yes, well, I had not planned this so soon, but since our complex burned down and I do not think you two have a place to stay." They both shook a negative again. Naruto cleared his throat and blushed a deep crimson. "I would be honored to have you come live with me." They both blinked before asking, "Naruto, didn't your apartment get burnt down too?" Naruto replied, "I had been saving up for a plot of land and building supplies for a while now. I just finished my home and I have 2 bedrooms with your names on it if you want." His blush creeping back. Yugo and Kurenai spoke to each other before turning around with a mischievous glint in their eyes and saying, "Okay, we would like to take you up on that, Naruto-kun." Naruto gulped before nodding and leading them to his new house. He had made rooms suited to their individual tastes in hopes they would one day live with him. Kind of a lost dream to him, but he was overjoyed to finally share his living space with someone. Especially 2 women he loved. Meanwhile, Kurenai and Yugo were making plans to murder the poor boy. They arrived at the house and Kurenai and Yugo gasped. It was a large size, easily big enough to fit a nice family of 12 to 15. Naruto led them on a house tour. The living room was spacious with the same type of sofa of Naruto's apartment. A big screen TV. A small fridge for snacks and drinks. The kitchen was state-of-the-art and had every gadget a person could ever want. There were about 10 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. The master bedroom and bath. A hot spring. A dojo. And a library which held the base for the matrix of seals that protected his house. He added their signatures so they could enter the house. They were surprised when he showed the 4 custom rooms. 2 of which were theirs. One of them was pure yellow. When they asked him why yellow, he said, "I am not sure. It seems I was just pushed to make it that way." Another was adorned with a small pond and a mist machine. They asked, but he said he was just compelled to make it that way. Naruto then showed their rooms. Yugo was first. Hers was a pure gold color that matched her eyes. Stands for her sword and a desk with scrolls of kenjutsu. It had a queen-sized bed with golden bed covers. Naruto led Kurenai to her room. It was red-colored like her eyes. The bed covers copying that color scheme. Scrolls on genjutsu theory and some small plants for her to take care of. Both hugged him and took off to explore and unpack, having handed them their scrolls with their items sealed inside. He wandered off to his master bedroom. He was sad the complex burned down, but happy he got the girls. He decided to take a shower and hit the bed. It had been a long day. Once he was finished with his shower, just wearing his boxers, he stepped out of his bathroom to look at his king-sized bed. He saw a sight most men would dream of. Kurenai in a red teddy, barely holding her breasts in and leaving nothing to the imagination, with a red pair of panties. Yugo wearing the same, only golden. He wondered where they had gotten them for a second, then decided he didn't care. They both giggled at his expression and said, "You wouldn't want us to be lonely in this big empty house, would you, Naruto-kun?" Kurenai said suggestively, drawing out his name. "You wouldn't want us all cold at night because of you, Naruto-kun?" Yugo said, following the pattern. Naruto sighed. "Megami-chan. Murasaki-hime. Would you do this poor soul a favor and sleep with me tonight?" They replied without hesitation. They threw him onto the bed. Kurenai taking her traditional right hand place, snuggling up with him and pressing her body flush against him as Yugo mimicked her on the left. They both murmured, "Night, Naruto-kun." Naruto sighed, content to go to sleep in the embrace of someone who loves him for the first time in his life. "Good night, my little Megami. My little Hime." With that, Naruto drifted to his most peaceful sleep of his life. Naruto woke groggily as his internal clock rang at 4 o'clock that morning. He wriggled his hands and feet. Feeling a weight on his body, he assumed it was his seals. Strange, they shouldn't feel this heavy. Naruto thought to himself as he tried to bring his hand up to form the seal to release a level of his resistance seal. He could hear grumbling in his head. Shaking off the grumbling as Kyuubi, he again tried to move his hand. Only for last night to hit him with full force. Oh, that's what that is. Naruto realized. Quickly. Making some kage bunshin to make breakfast. He looked down and smiled. On each side of Naruto lay a woman. The one on the right had hair as black as night. A body many women and kunoichi would kill for. His own little slice of heaven on earth. Kurenai Yuhi. To his left. Hair as royal as the purple it was. His own little kingdom of paradise. Yugo Uzuki. Both had admitted only yesterday they held feelings for the little blonde currently snuggled in between both of their expansive chests. Upon finding their apartments burnt down, Naruto had invited them to join him in his lonely house. Imagine his joy when not one, but both accepted without hesitation. And so on their first night here, they had slept in the same bed together. Now, Naruto believes the only way a good day can start and stay that way was if you woke up next to the person you loved. Currently, he was deciding this was the best day of his short 13-year-old life. Nothing could bring him down today. He felt the two moving and blushed as their legs moved in unison up his legs, resting in a very special place that all males have trouble with in the morning. He managed to stifle his groan as they brushed him. He hoped with all his heart that Kami would save him from his first good morning being embarrassing. He was disappointed. "Oh, Naruto-kun," Kurenai said sweetly. "What is that steak I feel poking at my thigh?" "Yes, Naruto-kun." Yugo chimed in. I wonder what that could possibly be. Naruto started to sweat bullets and stammered out. I'm sorry, please don't hit me for being a pervert. He covered his head and waited for the rain of blows he would always get from girls who thought he was doing something perverted, especially Sakura. Yugo and Kurenai blinked, the playful atmosphere destroyed by Naruto's declaration. Kurenai spoke up softly so as not to upset him further. Naruto-kun, that is a normal problem men have when they wake up. There is nothing perverted with that. Who told you that? And why would you expect us to hit you? Yugo asked. Naruto peeked through his protective arms and replied. Whenever Sakura would think I was doing something perverted, I would be hit by her. She would always hit my head. I wouldn't dodge it thinking that I deserved it because I couldn't tell what I did wrong, but she was always so enraged that I must have faulty logic here, trying to show a little bit of immaturity and naivete because of his upbringing. It seems a little OOC for him, but trust me, this will work out. I have a few surprises. Kurenai and Yugo frowned. Neither liked that this Sakura would hit Naruto. Women in general don't like perverts, but to hit a kid just because you think he did something perverted was crossing the line. Yugo spoke up. Naruto, morning wood is a natural reaction. I am sure you read the anatomy for your anti-rape seals. Didn't you come across this? Naruto thought for a moment before responding. I had heard of it, but this was the first time I have had it. I just had a natural reaction to Sakura's hitting. Sorry, Haim. Megami. Kurenai and Yugo smiled but were musing in their heads. Just so you know, Naruto-kun, women do not like perverts, that is true. However, women who have men they like. To see them get like this, Kurenai said and rubbed him again, only makes the women feel, I suppose I should say, proud. At least it does to me, and I believe Yugo. Yugo nodded her assent. Do not make this a habit and do not show anyone this, but if it does happen while you are admiring your girlfriends, it is okay to feel aroused. Kurenai tried to explain to her new boyfriend. She did not want him to shy away from them because of some conditioning this Sakura seemed to be doing. Naruto nodded his head and said, So I should only feel like this around my girlfriends? Kyuubi spoke up from the seal. No, Kit, that is a natural reaction to any female body you might find attractive. You will have that reaction to many women, but should it be a woman not interested in you, then they will likely call you a pervert. What Kurenai is explaining is that only those whom you are involved with would take it as a compliment. Others would see it as you simply cannot control yourself. Kurenai and Yugo noticed his far-off look and waited for a bit, knowing he was either talking to Kamakazi or Kyuubi. Yugo and Kurenai both took a minute to concentrate on the feel of Naruto's manhood that was poking them. They both thought the same thing. Big. He was not huge, but he was big for his age, and he still had some time to grow. No, Naruto is not going to be some huge monster of a third leg. That would hurt almost anyone he tried to have sex with, but he will be a decent size even if he is young when I ride a lemon. They both blushed and turned away from each other, a little embarrassed at the thoughts running through their heads. Naruto was brought out of his musings by a slight honey scent that permeated the area. He sniffed the area slightly, trying to get a bead on it. He sniffed again and heard Kyuubi growl. This put Naruto on edge. Kyuubi hadn't growled since they first met. He sniffed again and managed to locate the honey scent from Kurenai and Yugo. He opened his mouth to speak, but something stopped him. He looked at them and noticed their blush and the way they were looking away from each other and him. If Naruto was one thing, he was observant. He would notice details most would not, even if they held no relevance to him. So it was no surprise he noticed their slight movements on his manhood, and somehow, even being as dense as he was, recognized the scent. They were aroused. Naruto chuckled. This brought Kurenai and Yugo back to his face, which was covered in a blush, and he said, Okay, I think Kyuubi explained it. Basically only do this with you girls, but it will happen with others I find physically attractive? Yugo and Kurenai nodded, both rather eager to end such an embarrassing talk. Naruto then clapped his hands and said, Well then, we have spent about 2 hours of this morning in bed, what's another 30 minutes each? Yugo and Kurenai looked confused until a Kage Bunshin walked in with a bed tray filled to the brim with eggs, bacon, toast, and some broth for them. I do not know what a traditional breakfast for them is. I will try to make lunches and dinners with Japanese foods. Yugo and Kurenai were a bit shocked but sat and ate in some light chatter. Kurenai spoke up as the Kage Bunshin returned the tray to the kitchen. Well, as much as this was refreshing, I believe we need to freshen up. Yugo nodded and they both went to their own rooms to clean up and get ready for the team meeting in a few hours. Though not before kissing Naruto almost senseless. Naruto regained his senses about 5 minutes later and decided to take a quick shower before relaxing since he could not do a morning workout and it had been a while since he relaxed. He released all of his seals as he had been doing once a week to get used to his difference in speed and reflexes. He relaxed his body as he ran around the compound for a few minutes, getting his body used to the feeling and the speed. He was mildly satisfied before he returned and took a shower. He sat upon his bed and thought about all that had happened, just reminiscing the good and the bad. When all of a sudden Kyuubi came across his thoughts. Its actions of late have been awkward. A little more helpful and definitely less hostile. Kyuubi spoke up. Oh really, Kit? So I don't seem as malicious as usual? She chuckled deeply. Naruto responded. No actually. Kyuubi stopped chuckling. Oh. So I haven't Well, maybe I should just return to being that big fox in your head that just gives you a headache. Naruto responded quickly. Oh, you don't give me headaches. I quite enjoy your presence if you do not scream at me to get out. Kyuubi was quiet a few moments. Naruto was getting a little worried. But before he did anything, Kyuubi's voice boomed out from his head. Thank you, Kit. No one has ever said such a thing. Naruto pondered how quiet the voice of Kyuubi sounded when it was being sincere. Wait a minute. Naruto's mind kicked into overdrive. Why would a demon care about others' feelings? The way it had been acting of late was against all the stories the village told. And for the second time in 1 hour a stroke of brilliance went through Naruto's mind and he gasped. Mindscape. He entered his mindscape a little angry. He had overlooked such an important detail. He marched across the plain showing a pale moon on one side and a library being shone upon by the moon. He was a little too angry at himself to notice. He marched right up to the trees now showing a plain with a forest. Some game. And a small thunderstorm in a corner. He growled out. Show yourself to me. Naruto took in Kyuubi with a single gaze. She was her usual 50-story high self. Still the reddish-orange tint to her coat. Wasn't she more red before? Naruto mused. Kyuubi raised one of her massive eyebrows and smirked after reading Naruto's findings. So my container finally decides to question this. Amused by this turn of events, she said. Why should I show you? What is in it for me? Naruto growled. I did many things for you in good faith. One thing in return is not much to ask. Kyuubi grumbled, not happy, but what he said was true. Very well. I am surprised you figured this out though. Kyuubi immediately began changing size. Shrinking and shrinking until it was higher than Naruto and about Yugo's height. Once the light had cleared, Naruto beheld her beauty. Kyuubi was standing in all her glory, about 5 feet 6 inches with full round lips. A heart-shaped face framed by 2 bangs. Hair as blonde as the sun. An hourglass figure with large D-cup breasts. Wide hips. And legs that seemingly go on forever. All in all perfection. A demoness in her own right, but what drew Naruto were her eyes. Her eyes were not the menacing red that he had come to see. No, they were still slitted, however they were a color of yellow filled with power but seemingly benevolent. Her eyes seemed to dance with lightning sparks. He quickly tore his gaze from her and noticed her clothing. She was wearing a white kimono with yellow flashes of lightning. Like what you see. Kyuubi smirked as she took in her container's expression. Naruto quickly schooled his face. Why did you not tell me you were a woman? Why are your eyes yellow and not red? He almost shouted. He was frustrated. He had not considered this possibility. It changed little but seemed a big deal to him for some reason. Kyuubi smiled her fox smile and said, Don't demand stuff from me just because you did not consider I was female. I know you do not look down on females and have saved them, hence I will assume you ask out of your own irritation and not out of incomprehensibility that a woman might be the strongest being alive. As for my eyes, that is a story for another time. Naruto was not happy. He felt like he was duped. He had been going on an assumption. He does not do that. It did not sit well with him, this revelation. How were Kurenai and Yugo going to take this? Kyuubi frowned with the way his thoughts turned. Do not mistake me when I say this, Naruto. You are mine. My container. You are bound to my life and bound to my soul. We are stuck together so much even I doubt we could separate anymore. Demons are attracted to power. Your potential is limitless. You are the only one capable of attaining the power to rival or even defeat me. Naruto was a little scared at that concept. He worried he might have to give up the only happiness he had outside because a possessive demon inside him claimed him. He totally overlooked she called him by his name. Kyuubi saw his dilemma and said, "Do not worry about your other mates, Kit. You are not ready to try and mate me. There will come a time when you realize most of your potential. When you start on that path, I will be there. As I have been through your entire life. We shall see what happens. I do not love you. I am attracted to your power. None have been close to you in power. Likely I would have to wait thousands of years for someone again. You are simply convenient for me. Even if we are stuck together, I could easily drag you wherever I wish when the seal weakens. That is all." With that being said, Kyuubi kicked him out of his mindscape. Real-world Naruto woke in his room and looked at the time only to notice he had about a half hour before team practice. He quickly went and splashed some water on his face, calming himself down. It wouldn't do to alert the girls to some problems. He figured he could gain power until he was strong enough to take Kyuubi down and keep his girls. Not in this lifetime. Kyuubi spoke up. "Naruto-sama, please do not listen to Kyuubi-san. She only seeks to weaken your resolve. Stand firm and you shall always prevail." Kamakazi spoke up for the first time since his talk with the Hokage. "Kamakazi, where have you been?" Naruto thought. "I have been reviewing some things for you, Naruto-sama, and got carried away. I am sorry for having been absent almost 2 months. I have everything remembered, so I should not need to leave you again." Kamakazi answered. "Ah." Naruto answered. When Naruto was younger, Kamakazi would go to the realm of the ancients who created him and look up some advanced stances or techniques. Because he had not been used, he did not remember them all. Seems even as a sword he was able to look information up. Although only on himself. Naruto pondered Kyuubi but decided he would ignore her threat and deal with it when he came to that crossroad. Yes, he would eventually cross it, but he was gaining power each day by training and he rarely ever had a day off as it was. Pushing any further would lead to exhaustion, which would lead to counterproductiveness. So decided he pushed the matter to his corner of solve later folders in his mind and headed downstairs. Yugo and Kurenai were waiting for him. He spoke up before they left. "Yugo-chan. Kurenai-chan, would it be a good idea to not be openly public about our relationship until after the Chunin exams?" They shared a look. Yugo spoke up. "Yes, it probably would. But how would we hide the living with you?" Naruto answered. "Well, we don't really have to go on popular areas as dates, and if we act normally it shouldn't be an issue. As for the house, well, with the seals no one will notice it is you entering. It will seem as if it was a plain person entered here if you have the key." Both were surprised at the seal but saw the necessity of it given who he was. They nodded agreeing, and Yugo went to the Anbu headquarters as Kurenai and Naruto headed to their training ground. They had lived in the same apartment complex, so no big deal for them to arrive together. Kurenai and Naruto arrived to find Shino and Hinata waiting for them. "Hey guys," Naruto said happily. "Well, I think we should get our first C rank today. What do you think, guys?" Hinata nodded. "I think we have the skills necessary for it." Shino added. "Yes, we seem to be at an appropriate level for it." Kurenai nodded and said, "Well, let's head to the tower and see what they have." The whole team jogged to the tower for a light warm-up and walked into the door. They were greeted warmly by the Hokage, who seemed to be giving missions out. "Ah, Team 8, so good of you to come here today. Let's see what D ranks we have available," he said as he reached for a scroll in the big D pile. Kurenai spoke up. "Actually, Hokage-sama, I feel my team is ready for a C rank mission." The Hokage chuckled as if expecting such a response. "I was wondering when you would ask for one. Your team has done exceptional. I have a C rank ready. You must simply go to Tanzaku Gai and wait for a man with a package. Retrieve it from him and bring it back here." Kurenai looked at her team, who seemed excited for such a mission, and said, "We accept, Hokage-sama." The Hokage took a puff of smoke and said, "Very well, you leave in an hour. Dismissed." Naruto. Kurenai, stay a moment please. Shino and Hinata left, casting glances back at their sensei and teammate. The Hokage watched as they squirmed, but he did not have time to wake them out. As of last night, you two have no homes. I regret to inform you that your apartments burned down, and I am sure you're aware. The Hokage said with clear sadness. Naruto brightened at the Hokage's news. He was sad to lose the apartment, but nothing was damaged and it resulted in him not being as lonely. Also, he did not want the Hokage to know of their relationship just yet. Don't worry about it, Gigi. I managed to save Yugo-chan's and Kurenai-chan's stuff and offered for them to stay with me. My house was big enough to fit them and I didn't want them to be out on the street. They can stay as long as they like. The Hokage looked owlishly. Naruto, I only bought you that land a month ago. How did you get it up and running? Kurenai nearly choked at hearing Naruto had built his house in a month. That was amazing. Naruto chuckled at both their faces. It's the same answer to your paperwork problem, Gigi. All at once the Hokage was on his knees in front of Naruto. Please tell me how to beat paperwork. Please, I will give you anything. Anything. Sarutobi pleaded. Sanin traveling rights for now. 2 more reasonable requests later and not telling the next Hokage, so I can laugh a little before telling them. Naruto said after thinking about it a little. Sarutobi blinked at the last request but pulled a pass out of nowhere and handed it to Naruto with a puppy dog eye jutsu in effect. Kurenai's sweat dropped in the background as Naruto said. 2 words, Gigi. Kage Bunshin. The Hokage looked at Naruto. Walked back to his desk and opened a drawer. He pulled out a folder with some dust and blew it off. Naruto and Kurenai looked at the folder, reading its contents. To Sarutobi. Please open this when you realize the answer to paperwork. Signed, Yondaime Hokage. P.S. This is not the secret, so do not open prematurely. Complete with a chibi Yondaime with a V sign. Naruto's eyes narrowed at the chibi. Sandaime opened the folder with a small burst of chakra and out popped a piece of paper. It floated to the middle of the desk and Naruto leaned in to read the writing. It contained a circle in the middle of the paper with the words, "Place head here." The Sandaime looked at it and started to bang his head, muttering, "Stupid. Stupid. Stupid." Kurenai's sweat dropped at seeing her leader hurting himself and decided it was time to leave. Naruto and Kurenai headed home to pack for the mission. At home it had taken minimal time to get ready, and even with the Hokage holding them up, they had about 40 minutes before they had to meet the rest of the team. Naruto decided to get to know Kurenai a bit more. He knew she liked the color crimson, but that was about it for her more personal life. Obviously she hated perverts. Liked genjutsu. Seemed to enjoy the fragrance of vanilla. And had friends in Anko, Yugo, and the rest of the Junin senseis. So Kurenai-chan, I would like to know a bit more about you. Naruto started as they lounged on the sofa. Well, what would you like to know, Naruto-kun? Kurenai replied with a mischievous smirk. How about some hobbies? Naruto said after pondering a bit. Well, I like to read folk tales. It gives me ideas for genjutsu. The different things some writers come up with are astounding. Kurenai said with enthusiasm. How about a favorite food? Favorite accessory? Naruto questioned, trying for more information. Well, I like yakitori especially. My favorite accessory would have to be some earrings, though I cannot wear them on any missions. So lipstick is always good. But what about you? Kurenai said, turning it around. Well, I like to collect scrolls that people throw away actually. You would be surprised at the useful things people throw away. As for a favorite food, I don't really have one, though if I were pressed I would say ramen. My favorite accessory is a haori. Naruto responded. But I think we are done for now. We need to meet the team in about 10 minutes. Kurenai nodded and they headed out to their meeting place, leaving a note to Yugo that they would be gone about a week. Kurenai and Naruto arrived at the gates and waited for Shino and Hinata to arrive. They had been enjoying the silence for about 5 minutes before Shino and Hinata came up and Kurenai spoke. Okay, this is our first mission outside the city walls. Be careful. Just because this is a C rank does not mean it isn't dangerous. Naruto will take point. He is our hard hitter and with his enhanced senses will be able to tell if there are traps. Shino next, watching the left side and keeping Naruto covered should he engage. I am next covering the right side. I will fall back and use my genjutsu or assist Hinata. Hinata is watching our backs with the Byakugan. Everyone ready? She looked at their determined faces and said, "Move out." Time skip 3 days. They arrived in Tanzaku-gai a little behind schedule. They had run into some bandits that assumed they could take on a team. Naruto and Kurenai had made short work of them. Shino and Hinata were still not sure of killing, so Naruto took the initiative and killed 3 of the 5 before they could blink, and Kurenai had the other 2 down in the same time frame. They had spent the rest of the trip in uncomfortable silence. Naruto was hoping they would ask their questions before it interfered with their teamwork. They had seen him kill before, but with all the information loaded to them afterwards, it seemed to have fled their minds. This was fresh. Anyo. Naruto-kun, how can you be so comfortable killing? Hinata finally spoke up as they were nearing the village. Kurenai was about to respond when Naruto spoke. Hinata-chan. What would happen if I simply knocked them out and released them afterwards? They would continue on their rampage. Naruto. Shino spoke up in his monotone voice, finally understanding Naruto's calmness. Exactly, Shino. When I was younger, I would go kill bandits to enhance my skills. I was doing a service. Bandits are some of the worst of the worst. They rape, pillage, and kill without mercy. Tell me, why should I allow someone like that to live when he attacks me? Naruto questioned. I do not relish killing them, Hinata-chan, but it is a necessary part of my life. I have said it before, I will say it again. Do not relish it, but do it because it is necessary. I will kill because I have found my peace in doing what I do. Now you must do the same. For the next time I may not be able to kill them before they reach you. Kurenai nodded when Hinata looked at her for confirmation. Now let's get settled in our rooms. It has been a long day and we all need our rest. Tomorrow we are to receive the package. Kurenai said and led them to their hotel. The girls shared a room while the boys had their own room, and each went to sleep thinking about what Naruto had said. It had been 3 days since they arrived in Tanzaku. They had decided to wait a minimum of 3 days before returning and stating the mission a failure. Currently, Shino and Hinata were roaming the streets looking for the client under guise of a young couple in henges. Kurenai and Naruto were sitting in the cafe they were supposed to meet the client, sipping on some tea. Well, Kurenai-chan, since we have some time, let's finish our discussion from before, Naruto said. Kurenai looked confused before remembrance shone in her eyes. They were on a little date, so Naruto decided to treat it as such. What else would you like to know? Naruto responded almost instantly. Since you read books, do you collect anything to do with them? He had thought about what he wanted to ask and had about 3 things he wanted confirmed before they finished this mission. Of course, even with them relaxing, they still kept their eyes open. Kurenai blushed and responded in a quiet voice. I collect bookmarks. It was one of the more awkward things a shinobi might collect, but she liked reading and bookmarks were very useful. She had grown a liking to ones with smart codas on them. Naruto nodded. His first question confirmed he had run across some interesting details after having meditated from sealing their rooms. A favorite color or colors? Kurenai responded. I like crimson because it reminds me of your attack. Lately I seem to have developed a liking to golden yellow, she said, admitting her liking of his hair. Naruto smirked. Like my hairy H? He chuckled at the blush that spread across his sensei's face. Anything you like to collect besides bookmarks, perhaps something that might be seen as a weakness? Staring at her in a, I know something you probably didn't want me to know yet, type of way. Kurenai started sweating. No? Naruto grinned his fox grin. So that crimson dog plushie that was on your bed is just a decoration? Kurenai cursed. She had forgotten he sealed her entire room. She sighed, deciding to give up. Okay. I like to collect plushie toys. For some reason it placates my need for soft things in a hard world. Naruto smiled. Thank you for telling me, now I know a little more about you. He was genuinely happy that he managed to get her to admit it. They went back to enjoying themselves, making a little small talk while waiting for the client. About a half hour later, the client stumbled up to them and handed the package, which looked ripped. Kurenai raised an eyebrow and questioned the man, but he just said to get it to the Hokage without delay and left. That was weird. Kurenai said. Hinata. Shino, we are leaving. Go pack. Meet us at the exit to the village in 20 minutes. Kurenai said through the radio, and Kurenai and Naruto headed to the meeting point with the package. 18 minutes later they were on their way home. Time skip. The trip home was uneventful despite the appearance of the package. They were not attacked, and arrived at Konoha 3 days later. They immediately went through the gates and proceeded to the Hokage tower. Upon arrival they were ushered into a briefing with the Hokage. Hokage-sama. Team 8 reporting from a successful C-rank mission. Kurenai said with authority. Very good, Kurenai. Sandaime said. Report. After hearing the breakdown of the mission, leaving out the mini dates Kurenai and Naruto had, and hearing the alarming state of the messenger, he said, excellent work for your first C rank. Your pay will be available and you will have a few days off for reward of your first C rank. Dismissed. Team 8 filed out of the room and everyone went to their separate homes. Kurenai and Naruto arrived home and Naruto spoke up. Well, I am going to head to take a shower and head to bed. You should relax, Kurenai-chan, and take it easy. Good night. With that he kissed her full on the lips before hurrying to his room. Kurenai stood there a little while, amused at his shyness after kissing her. She decided she was going to soak in the hot springs before heading to bed. She entered her room and made her preparations and then exited, headed to the hot springs. Kurenai entered the hot springs only to hear the splash of another using the hot spring. She came around the changing partition and saw Yugo soaking in the water. Ohio Yugo, Kurenai said. Yugo jumped before replying. A little miffed, she had been caught off guard. Ohio Kurenai, how was the mission? It was fine, Naruto, and I got in some interesting little dates. Kurenai responded and continued to regale her fellow Naruto lover on their little talks and some of his personal info. You should go sleep with him tonight. I got some dates and I am sure he would appreciate it. Yugo nodded, having been thinking the same thing, and took her leave. Naruto climbed into bed fresh from his shower. He was happy with his first C rank. It had been relatively easy and he got to spend some more time with Kurenai. He only wished Yugo could have accompanied them. Once that thought crossed his mind, he heard his door open. He looked up to see Yugo in an overlarge shirt barely hiding her, and she spoke. Could I sleep with you tonight, Naruto-kun? Naruto was more than happy to let the girls sleep with him and responded instantly. Of course, Murasaki-hime. Yugo smiled and climbed into bed on his left side, pressing herself into his side once again as she had 1 week ago. How was the house while we were gone, Hime? Naruto asked. Lonely, was Yugo's wistful sigh. I heard your mission was a success. Yes, and I learned a bit more about Kurenai, but now it's your turn. Naruto said. Oh, so you want to know the same things about me, Well, since you searched my room, I guess there is no point in hiding it. Just know what I say has never been told to anyone else. Yugo said. Naruto chuckled. What, no fight? I had to wrestle some of it out of Kurenai, but whatever you want to tell me, I am all ears. I will always listen to you girls. Yugo kissed him and started. I like swords, as you can tell. What everyone doesn't know is I like collecting bracelets, ankles, and the ones for your wrists. I also like collecting mugs or antique cups, especially ones with funny sayings on it. Naruto nodded. After each of these he had noticed this about her trinkets when he sealed her things. Now one thing even you may not know is that I love looking at the moon. Naruto's eyes widened a little. He had not known that or deduced it. It pleases me and sets me at ease almost as much as you do. Naruto smiled. That's it for tonight though, Naruto-kun, get some rest. I will be here in the morning. Naruto kissed Yugo one last time. Arigato, Murasaki-hime. He laid his head down and went to sleep. Time skip 2 months. Naruto and the girls had taken to leaving the village and going to little towns, about a half a day's travel, to take little dates on their days off. No one had seemed to take notice and they were leaving it that way. Naruto's team had taken a couple more C ranks but remained doing D ranks for now. Naruto was off training in the training grounds while Kurenai and Yugo enjoyed a rare mutual day off. Naruto had revamped their wardrobe and he had bought them whatever they wanted. He was spoiling them and they knew it. He knew it too. He just wanted them to live like he thought they should, and if he could provide it for them he was going to give it to them. Naruto's resistance seal was up to 6. He was almost ready for 7. You know Naruto-sama, the first difficult kenjutsu master you face in battle will probably unlock my true form for you. Kamakazi spoke up. He had mentioned this a few times but it never came to anything. He would have to fight missing nins for someone to be powerful enough to awaken kamakazi. Spars would not do. Yes, I cannot wait until the higher missions. The thrill of the battle. The feeling as you kill a worthy opponent. Kyuubi spoke. Yes, fighting a worthy opponent will definitely be worthwhile, though not for what you think of it, Kyuubi. Naruto responded. I cannot wait either. Naruto-sama fighting against a worthy blade will be amazing. Kamakazi spoke up, completing the feelings of want for battle between the trio as Naruto sheathed kamakazi and made his way home. With Kurenai and Yugo, they were both lounging in the living room. They had on some mindless sitcom as they enjoyed their day off. Naruto had plans to take them to a festival tonight. All of a sudden the doorbell rang. Yugo said, I'll get it. Yugo got up and padded to the door and pulled it open. She was met by an Anbu with a "nay" symbol on its head, and the Anbu spoke up. The council would like to see you and Yuhi-san in the council chambers now. With a monotone voice. Yugo was sure this was something bad. So she responded while keeping her Anbu face on. I need to get presentable. We will be there shortly. Yugo closed the door and headed to Kurenai and informed her of the predicament. They got ready and left Naruto a note to bring the Hokage to the council chambers once he got back. He should be arriving soon. They opened the door to the same Anbu unit and shunshined directly outside the chambers. Wait here. The Anbu operative said and entered the chambers. Kurenai and Yugo waited patiently until they were called in and entered the chambers. They were met by the civilian council with Danzo, an ex-Anbu commander with a penchant for stirring up trouble and being a warmonger. Do you know why you are here, Yuhi-san? Azuki-san? A pink-haired councilwoman said. No. They replied. We are here to discuss the young boy currently on your team, Yuhi-san. She replied. Yugo and Kurenai's eyebrows rose. This was not going to be pretty. It has come to our attention that the two of you have been seen entering and exiting Konoha, seemingly going on personal excursions into the nearby towns. What business is it of yours what we do with Uzumaki-san? Yugo questioned, more privy to the council's working than Kurenai. Danzo spoke up. It is our business because young Uzumaki should not be cavorting with women. The boy should not be given the chance to create continue his line. Yugo and Kurenai bristled. What we do with Naruto-kun is none of your business. Kurenai finally said. It seems our conditioning did not work, Haruno-san. Danzo said. Kurenai narrowed her eyes. What conditioning? Naruto said. The council was taken aback by the sudden appearance of Naruto within the room. What conditioning, Haruno-san? Danzo-san. Naruto questioned. The conditioning to make you dislike women. Did you ever wonder why my daughter constantly beat you? The council gave her a mission to beat you in the head, hoping for some brain damage and to keep you from creating demon spawn. The Haruno councilwoman screeched. Danzo, have your root Anbu take these women and remove their, how shall we say, what makes them women so that there is no chance for them to bear children. Yugo and Kurenai sent death glares at the council. Root. Danzo said. All of a sudden 4 root Anbu appeared holding each of the girls' arms and attempted to shunshin away. Naruto muttered. Kai. The counter on his seal dropped to 0. He disappeared in a burst of speed, and before any of the Anbu could move they were beheaded, and Kurenai and Yugo were by the doors leading outside. Danzo's eyes widened. I barely saw him move. He must be close to the Yondaime's speed. But before he could do anything, things went to hell. Naruto had his head down with his sword dripping blood. His eyes were being shadowed by his bangs. You dare to hurt someone just because they are close to me? He asked in a deadly silent voice. Haruno screeched. They are demon lovers, of course, we who you are. She was stopped as she choked on the ki exuding from Naruto. Oh, this is going to be good. Kill them, Kit. They dared attack your mates. Kyuubi smirked from his mindscape. She was not lending anything to the impressive display of power coming from Naruto. For once I must agree with Kyuubi-san. Protect those precious to you, Naruto-sama. Kamakazi said. Crimson and gold started swirling around Naruto. None of the maliciousness of Kyuubi, simply an overwhelming sense of certain death. The council members were choking in their seats and even Danzo had a bead of sweat coming down his face. The council chamber's door flew open and there stood the Sandaime with the ninja council heads. There were 5 council heads with 3 open seats. The 5 council seats taken up were Hyuga Hiyashi, Aburame Shibi, Inuzuka Sume, Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Inoichi, and Akamichi Shuza, each for their respective clans. The ones not being represented were the Namikaze, Uchiha, and Senju. The Hokage held his own council seat, bringing the total ninja council seats to 9. The Hokage was impressed by the show of Naruto. Even he had not known he was this powerful. Naruto-kun, please calm down. They will be punished for their actions. Thank you for sending me that Kage Bunshin and gathering the other council heads in the same manner. Kurenai and Yugo, seeing Naruto not calming down, put their hands on his shoulders and Naruto looked into their eyes with his crimson eyes with the S pattern. He sighed and flicked his blade, cleaning it of the blood. Very good, Naruto-sama. Kamakazi spoke up. TCH shoulda killed them. Kyuubi said. Naruto calmed down and his eyes bled back to the usual sapphire blue. He looked at the Hokage and bowed. Hokage-sama. Hiyashi-sama. Shibi-sama. Sume-sama. Shikaku-sama. Inoichi-sama. Shuza-sama. I thank you for coming on such short notice. Each of the council heads nodded in response and went to take their seats. The Hokage snapped his fingers and Anbu came in and removed the 4 dead root members. What is the council doing, questioning 2 of my shinobi? The Hokage asked, fire in his eyes. Danzo's eyes sparkled. The god of shinobi was in session. He had seen Sarutobi get this light back ever since a few years ago. Now it was in full flame. Kurenai spoke up. Hokage-sama, they admitted to trying to get Naruto to not be able to have kids by conditioning him to not like girls and think natural reactions were looked down upon as perverted. Also, they threatened to. At this, Kurenai choked up. Naruto wrapped his arms around both of them and held them close. His sword hanging in front of his 2 girls with his seals still released, ready to fight should the need arise. As they bawled, they threatened to remove Yugo-chan's and Kurenai-chan's ovaries. Naruto spat out. The Hokage's eyes widened. What gave you the right to do such a thing to 2 respected members of the shinobi force? Cold steel in his voice. Haruno screeched yet again. Man, can't she be quiet? They are seeing the boy. He should not be allowed to create little spawn. The Hokage fixed her with a stare and said, listen here, this is a shinobi village. As such it is not a democracy. What I say goes. I am the Hokage and you will not be threatening one of my shinobi with such a thing again. If I hear a hint of such a thing you will be charged with treason and executed. Do I make myself clear? The Hokage bellowed. The civilian council shivered in their seats and nodded. The Hokage fixed Danzo with a stare. Danzo reluctantly nodded, knowing he was caught and that Sarutobi could execute him for keeping Root alive. Now get out of these chambers, we have shinobi business to discuss. The civilian council filed out of the chambers and Danzo reluctantly left. Homura and Kaharu walked in. They were the village elders and were present at most council meetings. Naruto inclined his head again. Homura-san, Kaharu-san. Some of the council heads were a bit shocked at the lack of respect, but all they saw was Homura and Kaharu shrug it off with some minor tightening of their lips. Now that is out of the way, the Hokage started. I had planned to wait to reveal this to you, Naruto, but it seems this is as good a time as any. Naruto's eyebrows rose and he unsealed a sofa for him and the girls. He laid Kurenai down on his lap and Naruto started to stroke her hair and Yugo leant on his arm as he made little circles on her hands, making a motion to proceed since he was comfortable. The council sweat dropped at his actions, but taking into account the traumatic experience they just went through allowed it. The Hokage cleared his throat and started. Naruto-kun, you have exceptionally high senses, even higher than our own Inuzuka clans. Sume snorted but could not deny the tests. As such, the council has been debating on allowing you to make your own clan within the village so as to continue such great abilities. The Hokage finished. Naruto's eyebrows rested back to their normal state and he responded. You are not even sure if my abilities will be passed on or if it is a perk of my Jinchuriki status. Kyuubi spoke up. It will be passed on, Kit. I made sure of it once I noticed your senses. Naruto came back to the world of the living and said. Ah. Never mind. I heard Kamakazi confirm it. He shared a knowing look with the Hokage. The council had been informed of the sword Naruto had. Some of the civilians had attempted to get him to give it to Sasuke, but once the Hokage had explained the defense mechanism, they left it alone. So Naruto-kun, what would you say to starting your own clan? It would require you to marry multiple women, which you seem to have a start on already. The Hokage wiped his nose discreetly. You would gain a seat on the council once you gain Chunin status, and you can claim any newly made jutsu as clan techniques. Naruto looked down at his Megami and whispered to his girls. What do you think? Kurenai whispered. Well, this is the only way to marry us both. Though I am not sure if it will go that far, it seems it will at this point. I had always wanted a large family. The thought of claiming my techniques as my own and not being forced to give them up sounds nice. I think all in all it's a win-win. Just not too many wives, Naruto-kun. Yugo whispered straight in his ear and down at Kurenai. I agree with Kurenai. I do not want my personal sword techniques to be used just by anyone, and I would love to marry you in the future if everything works out. Naruto nodded and said. How many wives, by what time, and do I get my own place or will I have to buy another plot of land? The Hokage was overjoyed. This set his grandson on a path to happiness. He could see what the three had and hoped it would endure. I believe the minimum we had said was 3 by the end of your 15th year. All of the clan heads nodded. Naruto spoke up. I pick my brides, no one picks for me. I will not marry if not for love. The council did not seem too worried but agreed, and the Hokage said. Very well, Naruto-kun. That gives you about a year and a month to find another woman. We will expect the name of your clan by then. Naruto nodded and the Hokage dismissed the meeting. Naruto uttered one last advice. Do not send your daughters to me looking to wed. I will sniff them out and they will be rebuffed. If they seek my friendship and turn it into love, they will be given their fair attempt. With that, Naruto, Kurenai, Yugo, and the sofa disappeared. Kamakazi spoke up once they got home. Naruto-sama, any ideas for your clan name? Kyuubi spoke up. Something foxy like? Naruto responded. I have no idea. I will think on it later. I have 2 women to tend to. Naruto took Kurenai and Yugo to his room and sent KB to their room to get their night clothes. They both seemed to wear little over large shirts that would show off their bras and panties. When they would move around, Kurenai's was crimson and Yugo was amber. He asked the girls, would you two like me to wash you in the hot springs tonight, then we can go to sleep with my high-level security seals? Yugo and Kurenai nodded. Naruto took them to the changing room and they all got their towels on. Naruto washed their backs and they sat in a comfortable silence while soaking within the spring. He was not going to leave them alone, not after that threat. They finished their bath and headed for the bed. Kurenai took her right side and Yugo took the left. He spoke up once he was sure they were settled. Megami-chan. Murasaki-heim. You will never have to worry about such a thing. I will protect you from everything. Nothing will harm you so long as I draw breath. Kurenai and Yugo teared up and kissed Naruto with such passion he was dazed. Arigato. They both said and fell asleep peaceful that Naruto would protect them. Sleep well, my little slice of heaven. Sleep easy, my little kingdom of paradise. With that, Naruto closed his eyes and drew his loves closer to him.